And welcome everybody to the first day back on the UPL Valorant series. I will be one of your casters for the evening, Ravishing Rabbits, the most ravishing man on the internet. And I'm joined yet again by my side by Miss Kura Haneko. How you doing, Kura?
Doing great. And you sound really happy right now. I might, I must say.
Thank you for noticing. I can say just my life is an absolute giant ray of sunshine and rainbows, Kura. I could not be happier because you know what? I'm here casting Valorant, especially casting Valorant with you. So an already under the extra special day.
Oh,
Mhm.
I feel so good. We solidified our name as well. We're Rocco now.
We are Rocco. Yes, indeed. So go ahead, put it out there, right? It's I don't want there to be any more confusions. I don't want to be any more mishmashing. Let's just get this on the record right now so it makes perfect sense. But enough about us, right? Let's talk a little bit about the teams that we'll be seeing tonight.
Yeah, so we will be seeing Team Mystic against Team Barely Acceptable, and they will be going to Bind, which I know, Ravish, is your absolute favorite map, like
So bind, I don't mind
ever.
as much. Yeah, like bind is cool. I actually quite enjoy seeing bind because I think it can be quite fun, both on attacking on the defending side. There's a lot of variations depending on how teams control the map. The map I despise, that's Ascent, Kura, which is we're going to second. So no matter what, we're seeing Ascent either way. But we will be going to Haven first. We see all of our picks and bans come out, Split and Icebox taken off right off the bat. These guys, I want to say they're boring, but like I understand they're two newer maps. People haven't really adapted, but in my heart of hearts, I am so disappointed.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely couldn't cast Icebox yesterday, can't cast Icebox today, but it's okay. There are plenty more weeks left in UPL, and I'm waiting for the other teams, man. Give me an Icebox.
I casted Icebox 2 days ago, so be jealous, haha.
Okay, okay. Flex on me some more, won't you?
I will. I definitely will. Flex to suck, bro. There's only so many times I can flex on you, right? It's because you out here do all the flexing because you so jacked with your shit, Kura. You sometimes intimidate me. But as I believe the teams are almost about ready to go, so we should be going in and any second. But while we do that here, Kura, talk to us about who picked these maps and who's on which side going into it.
Yep, so a bind was actually picked by Barely Acceptable, and Mystic chose the attack, which is not something you see often. Usually you do start with the defender side on bind, but maybe they just want to get out of the way, or maybe they have a team comp that lends itself more to attack than defense. We'll see shortly.
Indeed, because honestly, more often than not, especially when it's not a map pick of your choice, teams do usually opt into going on the defense first, but I guess like you mentioned, they feel a bit more safe in the attacking side and being able to rotate that forward. Because once about like 12 rounds pass, then we're on the defense too. They're assuming to be able to pick up some easy points and going over the next side as well, right? On the side
Mhm.
of Ascent, they will be attacking both times first. So there will be no switching of sides. We will be seeing consistently from Team Mystic and Barely Acceptable when we start at the first rounds of the half here, Kurt. So I'm excited to see what especially Team Mystic brings out because, like we said, it's a brand new season. It's a brand new day for the UPL Valorant. So I'm excited to see what goes on in front of our screens.
Yeah, for sure. And Mystic is even going on the attack for Haven, too. So literally, we are just not switching sides for any of the games tonight.
Which should be a lot of fun. But going into these first two maps, right? Like you mentioned about Team Mystic's composition, maybe they have something coming out. Maybe, just maybe, they might have something special planned for us because you were talking about some potential attacker side favorite compositions. But on Bind, what are you expecting to see that would possibly play out to your realities?
Yeah, I think I would probably just expect to see the five-man smeeging. There we go. I've said it correctly. Smeeging onto a site. Because I know it is sometimes really hard to hold sites, especially if you don't have that Astra, you don't have like maybe a Viper or Killjoy, something like that. So hopefully Barely Acceptable does pull out one of those tools on defense so they can try to stop that onslaught if Team Mystic decide to do so. And there we go. We are now going into the agent selections. And from both sides right now, we have a Cypher coming off at Barely Acceptable. And this is none of those agents that I just mentioned.
Now you are smart, but unfortunately you're not able to predict the future as of yet. But give it some time, it's still early in the match, so unless you warm up your five-head muscles. But as of right now, across the board between these two compositions, I'm seeing nothing unorthodox, right? This has been
Mhm.
standard, especially on maps like Bind, along with the Phoenix, the Rays. That's all common there. Too. All that comes down to is your two duelist compositions. You can pick either. I actually like Phoenix a lot in this map,
Okay.
considering just for the curveballs. Also, a Sky, which I think is criminally underused in so many different compositions. She's extremely strong, but across the board should be pretty easy as they lock it. I imagine we'll see Mosin take on the Jet as well. So really not a ton of variation between either side, except the pick of the one duelist.
Yeah, it's going to be the flashes coming out from the side of Mystic
Choose your
versus the
agent.
basically only Paranoia coming out from Barely Acceptable. Is this a new meta right now? I feel like I've seen less and less flash comps recently, and I do not know what is happening.
You are correct. I just noticed this and I don't like it at all. Not one bit. I do not enjoy this because we've seen this go down, right?
Hmm.
I find with certain teams, just not picking up a flash does not work in your favor in the slides, especially when you're going onto maps like Bind. You have to be able to create space because taking shallow control on on points such as either at both A and B and planting by a neutral, you usually get stuck by bunker, or you possibly able to escape one back into one possibly back into elbow, and even on A, maybe you get out the sight, planted by car, and the one moves into U-Haul, but then you have no showers control, you have no heaven control, and then you get pincered from both sides. So I don't like it. I'm not in favor for it, but I'm excited to see how Bar Academy adapts to it.
Yeah, for sure. And I really like how both sides, they do have that Cypher and the Sova. So that should give them a lot of information just going forward. And maybe they don't need the flash if they know exactly where people are and they don't expect where they're coming from. So now looking at this, we actually have a three-man stack going over for Barely Acceptable at B, while there's that two-man stack at A. But they've left Hookah and Showers kind of undefended. So we'll see how Mystic decide to push in.
A little bit back and forth so far, but I'm not going to set up that Mystic have coming in. Just putting out some initial pot shots, right? I usually expect to see a lot more aggression coming out from teams, especially on Bind of the pistol. Usually they push out all pretty much as five, all the way down on B long sometimes, but now the way they're looking at it, it's just very standard setup from both teams. About to go gauge around for information, but Eclipse
Satchel out.
getting picked up right at the beginning will allow basically to get an on site. Nope, he dies.
He does, and that is going to stop Mystic just a little bit, but they do have control of the
Spike
site.
down,
Spike
B.
has been dropped in Hookah, and Grim Reaper picks off another, so now it's a 3-4 situation.
As they move in, Spike already planted as well, but now look at the entire team. All of Bar Academy is looking around elbow as the Paranoid goes in. And Sam is locked
One
all the way
enemy
back here.
remaining.
Gets picked up one after another. Motion two
Oh.
goes for the knife kill. Grim Reaper. A little bit disrespectful to start the round, but
You failed.
I rate it.
Hey, sometimes when you can go for it, you can go for it. So I do not blame them there, actually. But that will be that first round picked up for Barely Acceptable, and they will be going on those Spectres now. And this should be an easy second round for them, right? They were able to get those initial picks and just stop Mystic. Mystic were mostly playing just on that B site and not backing off to any of the extremities. And so they were just, squished onto site and taken out one by one. So now it seems like Mystic once again are going to be playing more of a split start, just trying to
Standing
find some
ahead.
more information. And that is going to be that Sova dart. Ooh, barely does not spot out Winky.
Now, this jet position, too, you see is extremely common for almost all jet players on the defense, too, pushing on immediately B long, look at the side right by TP to get down some initial picks, right? But gets spotted out, has to smoke. So not gonna be able to get any picks as of yet, as all of Mystic moving all out of the A side, but Jag is waiting and ready with the Spectre. As soon as the smoke dissipates, I expect to see an absolute palooza. Because going back and forth to actually wait.
Enemy.
So far, it seems like the As he spots one, Jag already was picking up one. That's the second. That's the third.
Spike
A
down
Spike is
A.
dropping to left back into showers. All of Team Mystic just cornered one after another. The Sam is on site along with Cass, but they're just stuck in a 5v3 to get kicked off. They get one kill, but that'll be it.
Just a weapon advantage coming out. Jag able to hold down A short for such a long time. Nasty spray down with the Spectre. And so now, Barely Acceptable will have to face those full buys of Mystic. And this is going to be very important because this could either go to 2-2 or it could go to 4-0 very quickly. So we'll have to see how they deal with that. And Mystic right now just need to pop onto a side. You know, we know that they don't really have too many flashes. They have 3, which is it's an acceptable number. Could flash all 5 people, and then that'd be like 15 flashes technically. That's pretty value.
Yeah, 15 is more than 5 according to basic math, from as far as I know. But I could be wrong, Kura. Doesn't necessarily matter. But as right now, it should be full buys across the board. I mean, both teams. Cass able to move into. They don't see any all the way at all the side. He's able to make his way down into short, but they already have a flank set up onto him too, because it injected some early shots. We'll have to hold a much tighter angle, but Raji looking in.
Ooh.
Right, just definitely hears that pretty far, so he knows there's somebody waiting for him. But I like the solo split position coming in for the side of Mystic, right? They're starting to play together as one, as so easy as before, so they don't get picked off. So, but after another, but Cass moves in and punishes Raji for the aggressive position. So at least with the getting the initial pick off, Asa should be a bit more open, but there are still 2 there that actually force all the rotations of Mystic. Sorry, a bar.
Yeah, now it's going to be all those 5 members, and Jag will get taken down as well. So it's going to be up to Grim Reaper right now to try to do something, but they are going to get dark covered. So that is going to allow for Mystic to take the site, and the spike should go down with 30 seconds remaining.
Oh, Sam actually gets picked up with it, but at least the spike is spotted and dropped like you mentioned. So the time is now in the favor of Mystic, but considering it is a 3v3 on both ends, they're looking at the side to really find one more after another. They're also positioned down by short, but these long range angles are favoring the ARs. Grim Reaper's at the back, gets spotted up by the dart. Unfortunately, now he's in a really tough spot, so they know exactly where he is. He could try to fake it, but then always gonna stick and try to get at least a half. Peeks in, gets one, but the double peek is better for Mystic as he gets the first of the round.
That's just basically, once again, a large altercation going down A short. And that was won by Mystic with that weapon advantage. But now it seems like actually Barely Acceptable are able to do a pretty healthy buy right now. They do have the Hunter's Fury as well, so that could stop those spike plants. Have seen it used quite often as long as Mystic decide to plant in one of those defaults and not some kind of like weird position, you know. There's a lot of places on both sites that, I don't know. I think Sovas can have a lot of lineups. I've learned that. My friend actually was practicing Brimstone lineups with me today. So I wouldn't be surprised if there were some strange lineups that I did not know about that perhaps Wiki knows about.
Are you
No. My friend was practicing. I was trying to defuse the spike while he was testing stuff. Yeah.
I see. Thank you for the insight. Very cool. So that's why you're supportive. But Winky, unfortunately, decided not being supported by any of his teammates. Will get picked up right at the beginning by the same angle we've seen Bar hold for the past 2 rounds, especially now with the AR. Easy to be able to execute, but Sam moving in with a Guardian. No less. I respect the choice. I'm a Guardian gamer myself. But as you can see, really get picked off. Here's the ult on 2. Good call to deny that. Because one more ult point going over to the Phoenix. Got a posse meant to run it back in the opening of the site. But now, a 3v5 Mystic, so we trust to move in.
And it is going to be that 3-man hold once again coming out from Barely Acceptable. Ooh, that shot is not going to hit now. There's 30 seconds left.
30 seconds.
Immediately as they get one down after another, those spike is still in their hands. She'll be looking to plant it, but one all the way outside there, guarded, and one moving in. This, Ramosa's not checking his angles. Unfortunately, gets paranoid, and there's still now 3v2. Raji has a big angle for a flank. Goes into the hookah, peeks in through one. There's the shot. And now just Omen left out the bunker, peeks in. Dime gets a 3K. He can save this round, but Grim Reaper is there yet again with a really nice clutch.
That was so close there. Both members just down to 10 HP. And that is going to be that third round going over to barely acceptable, just barely able to retake that B site. So now going into this, Mystic will have a lot more ultimates. They'll have the Neuro Theft, giving them more information. Could use the From the Shadows for more information as well. But that run it back is going to be critical for trying to get onto one of these sites. We were talking about potentially Mystic is going to be doing more of that smeaging strategy going on. Haven't seen it too much. We've seen like kind of like initial picks or they're a little bit slow on the uptake. But with the run it back, we could see a little more aggression coming out as they are now posturing toward A, and they're going from both short and showers right now.
Girl, I feel like you're kind of just projecting onto the side of Mystic because you yourself want to be sneaking, and I understand that everybody wants to be part of FaZe, bro. I get it. FaZe are
Okay.
super cool, but unfortunately, I don't think anybody can sneak like you can, right? But Mystic will sure damn well try it. But as you get picked up one after another, just down at the showers, they all have the angles. Jag at the back with the beautiful spray transfer onto Tuit. Mosin, although he didn't get to buy, he had the knives, so he was fine. At the final kill, Bar Academy showing up.
It's barely acceptable, not Bar Academy.
You right. I picked up the wrong connotations. Continue on. I will now zip my lips.
Hey, I mean, Academy, if there was the, what is it called, abbreviation, it'd probably be like ACA or something, but it's ACC. If you said account, then it would make a little more sense. But
Bar
hey,
account.
I'm just saying it's a possibility, but now Mystic will have that showstopper available as well. It's time. It's time, Ravish, I'm telling you.
I mean, I want to see it, right? I want to see two C4s being used to enter onto the site. No boombot available. Actually, only has one C4.
Oh,
So no. That's so sad. So you kind of looking.
That's enough.
Exactly. One is enough to be able to just like barely jump in, just like take a little like half step. It's like in hopscotch when you want to take two, but like being able to take one just being able to barely survive might be enough. But it's looking to be already move in. Running back uses well to open up the site, but Showstopper actually gets stopped though. Nothing will explode. Because wow, that was just kind of disgusting considering they just lined up every single shot and they took that Mystic one after another. That was effortless.
Yeah, that was basically just Moss in there at the back of the site, able to hold them off even though Moss was coming in with the run it back. We saw that it didn't really provide too much on the side of Mystic, and the Showstopper didn't really connect as well. So that is going to be another round going over to barely acceptable. Now Mystic, they're down 4 rounds, and they're about to be down a 5th if they're not able to win the Sheriff round.
And that was actually two really big site opening ultimates, right? We talked about how it's the job of a duelist to be able to enter onto a site, with both to run it back along with the Showstopper, could have easily been used to take control because they both get shut down one after another. It is an unfortunate happenstance to say the least, but Boston Peaks still actually get cast.
It's
Really
Moffin
well
again. And he's just been getting these picks all the time. So that is going to be a man disadvantage for Mystic. They're still posturing toward Hookah, but this is not going to be easy because now Eclipse has come over. And that is going to be another headshot going down for barely acceptable.
That spike also dropped as well right outside of Hookah too, but considering they did get a fair amount of damage onto the members are barely acceptable, right? So if they wanted to, one pick could possibly allow them the opportunity to at least open side a little bit more, but Eclipse is waiting at the side, has both C4s and a Showstopper to stuff down any sort of potential assault they could be facing onto B, but now Mystic has a tough choice to make. They still want to continue. They're still in a 5v3. They're likely to have to reposition. Yes, they do. As it all moving down to B long, no one is watching here, Kura. But they don't have necessarily any opening sight ultimates. They have the TP to possibly draw some attention away. So they could use that to go all the way back to elbow. Boombot put in, smokes out as they move it onto sight.
One enemy remaining.
And Eclipses just takes them all down. Yep, okay, never mind. That was 4 seconds.
That was very, very quick there. I was about to say something and then, nope. I was like, I know it's coming. I saw the smoke, the gap in the smoke, and it was very, very doomed. And barely acceptable right now. Have a very strong B hold. It is just Mawson and Eclipse holding it down, not letting Mystic come in. They don't really have to use too many abilities either. It's just the headshots, those initial picks coming out B long or in Hookah, and that's really just stopping Mystic right now. And maybe it's time to try A again. I think it's time to try to I guess, dual Rodzi. He does have those two trips, both near shore, and Barely Acceptable has not had too much Shower's presence. They're mostly playing back of site, which is not something I usually see for defense teams playing on bind. But now we are going to see So pushing up, having that Shower's control with two members short. And now the rest of Mystic are going to start rotating over. But now Barely Acceptable already have three members on the site.
I'm actually pressing some shots to get spotted so they know exactly they's pushed up to TP though. They don't put on a util down as of yet to possibly start stuff him out, but the drone as well. Just about a little bit of information. The paranoia goes out all the way up high and responds back immediately and onto dime as all of Barely Acceptable look to push in, but Eclipse's both angles locked out along with the support of Razi. Eclipse is cracked, bro. With the 3K all the way at the end, and Razi comes out of hookah to clean up the final kill. That was disgusting.
That was, and those were the Cypher cages coming out and providing vision for basically nobody. And Mystic there had to push out of it to try to get onto the site, and it did not work out for them as most of the members were short. And then that member Showers, I believe it was So, not able to pick off anybody on that side. And so they just did not have any entrance onto A. And neither of these site pushes are working for them right now, as they are just going split onto site and trying to get those initial picks, but Barely Acceptable is not giving them anything.
Consider right now, especially in the case of Mystic, right? They've tried to change up the sites. They've tried to perhaps go for different pushes, but they just seem to be read every single time, and they're not locked in this ping pong economy where they only have a shot every other round to be able to possibly take one back. But Jag gets punished with a very aggressive peek there too. He was shoulder peeking back and forth because he gets out flashed and really pushed in. Not Rodzi looking to punish them, but Sam with a second shot. So already a man advantage. Oh yeah, already a man advantage coming up from the side of Mystic. So good trades back and forth. So at least they know they're trying to possibly draw over rotations from this side of B to A, so they can possibly try to move over. They slowly made their way in. Yep, and there's a rotation.
That's going to be a flash use. Try to get on the site, but Mawson again just gets that through the smoke.
You just keep shutting them down, Curl, one after another. This man is insane. But Winky fully catches running out of the TP, and now it becomes a 1v2. Barely Acceptable are getting punished for being a bit too brazen in the pushes, and he gets shut down on a thrifty nonetheless by Mystic too. So good job by them for getting around in the back pocket and put a bit of the economy in their favor.
When I just said that Barely Acceptable were not giving them anything, gave him a free gun, gave him a free way onto that B site. So that will be Mystic picking up their second round. Lots of ults this round though. This could be very bloody, especially since it is a rifle round, but Mawson now has that operator. Looks like they're going to be looking B long, and it's going to be very scary for Winky if they decide to peek this. But we shall see, as the spike has been dropped in A short right now. And once again, Mystic are more playing default to try to just get some more information, try to catch anybody that's overextending. But once again, Barely Acceptable, not giving them anything right now.
Watch Sam here too, because I believe we also got the Ultra Orbit Showers. So that means he has to run it back, be able to enter and out the site, get as much information as possible. As I believe we're back and forth here. Barely Acceptable is playing around with themselves, just looking down back and forth as the drone goes in. Along with the drone, along with the flash at the back as well. It's possible allow them to move in on site, but immediately spotted by Jag has the angle, but are spotted by Grim Reaper. TP's out to heaven. Punish is one, but Jag is actually ready for the rotation. Meanwhile, between all that chaos, Spike is planted, Eclipse comes in and punishes Sam for being too far forward, but he misses the knife, so now it becomes a 1v nothing. But there, because Razi's there for the response, all the rotations are there, and Barely Acceptable in the chaos of it all come out on top.
Yeah, that was crazy. The dime actually took the TP to heaven. I thought that it was just going to be a bait just to make everybody look bad. But then when they actually took it, they were able to get something out of it, got a few kills, and then was slowly taken down themselves. That is going to be, let's see, the showstopper from the shadows out, but there are still some big ultimates out there, especially that Hunter's Fury, something to look out for. Don't know if we've seen that actually come out in this half yet. Maybe once, maybe not at all. But hopefully, Yeah, but hopefully we will be able to see it. Just try to get some of those initial picks coming out from Barely Acceptable or even
Yeah.
coming out from Mystic as long as they get information because both teams right now don't know too much except as I say that, Drone's gonna come in. Razi will get spotted out, but takes down one.
Yeah, same drone play we see from Winky every single time for the past couple of rounds though, but Alishu this time actually gets a double kill all the way at the back. Partially pops Winky's location, but he's better with the shots because he popped it first. And he gets Grim Reaper and he also gets the ultimate out of him too. So there's the Hunter Fury that you want to hear, Kura. That's both coming out at the exact same time. And now in a 2v4. Mystic looking for a possible third round to go into the next half. At least look at an 8-4 punch stop Mosin. Winky with a 4K by the end of it. Mystic bringing it back little by little.
And that's the information that I wanted to see come out. We saw the spy cam, we saw the recon dart, and especially that Hunter's Fury that allowed for Mystic just to get that member advantage and finish off those members of Barely Acceptable. So now we won't have too many of those, big ultimates going into the last round unless Soso is able to get maybe a frag and then one of those ult orbs. But they are not going for it right now. They have postured themselves around B short and not for long, as they do know that Barely Acceptable could be holding that with an op. Will not have an op this time, but still a very scary possibility.
Mosin actually should be spotted out here too. Gets punished, has to immediately dash away, right? Because he thought he was gonna outsmart them by putting out the smoke, making them think, yeah, guys, how high rotated push in. But no, unfortunately not. So forced to reposition is all a Mystic look towards B here, Kura. Paranoia goes out along with the paint guns, along the paint show as well. So as they make their on the side, is actually solid control. They really find both in the corner of the firewall as well. They're getting down one after the next. All of Barely Acceptable are falling because they were blinded out, flashed in, and not able to respond. Although Jack getting one is nice. He used it from the shadows as well to respond a little bit, but they have this B side on lock.
Both members are coming in, not from CT, from Hookah, but Razi will not be able to get anything. Now we're in a 1v3.
Can he actually possibly get this to ball? Actually, all three of them are in Honker, but some shots now takes a lot of shots back though, and there it is, Cass. I would have liked for him to Paranoia to possibly be able to move it a bit more aggressively, but he was up against it. So tough call.
Yeah, a tough call, especially since they didn't have too much information about where everyone is. It is Omen and not a Sova or a Cypher, so they don't have those information gathering abilities. So did the best that they could. As you said, I would have loved to see the Paranoia as well, just to be a little bit more safe. It is the last round. What are you gonna save, right? You can't put anything into this round. But now Bar Academy is... I said Academy. I am blaming you for this because now you have gotten it in my head. But Barely Acceptable has now going on the attack. They do not have those flashes now. The flashes will now be on the defense. So it will be interesting to see if Mystic play a little bit more aggressively on defense. They weren't too aggressive on offense, I feel. It's nothing of those 5-mans that I was, I guess, hoping for or projecting upon. But they are going to be now moving these 5 members toward that B site. And Eclipse is sitting alone in Hookah. Will get spotted out.
Actually, big Paranoia as well, going all the way back to elbow to force the Cypher to reposition right by entrance. And slowly make their way in. Darcy will be able to spot out a fair amount of members, but fortunately not no tags for him. As they're looking all the way at the back, using 4 flashes actually right at the beginning. As moving out the side, right now elbow, back, illustrated back and forth, but Jack getting a double to clear up the rest, and now they're just dying left. What's with the frenzy, but Mosin just better with a classic by the end. Gets a headshot too. All right.
That was looking really good for Mystic because Soso there just came in through that TP, provided that extra angle for Mystic to push that B site on, but they were not able to take advantage of that at all. They got those initial kills that were inside too, but other than that, it's just gonna be Mosin. It's Mosin and Eclipse. Now, they've just been fragging out right now, and they have fragged out again, which brings them to a 5-4 lead, and with this gun advantage going into the next round, should be able to extend it to 10 as they're once again moving now toward A, but there are 3 members here, and it's going to be up to Dime to do as much as they can.
They've already pushed back to misses the first initial right click, so that's Hookah control already given over. So now that they've established a slow, solid control They need to clear out showers as well. Remember, already peeking in. They see Sam. He's running away back to TP. He knows he's gonna get so much opposition, and as he gets chased down, the spike won't even be planted. They don't want the money; they just want the kills.
Yeah, more money is good, you know, just in case. Like, what
I
if?
agree.
Or what if you go on, let's say, like a 4-round win streak, but then every single time everyone dies but one person? You know, your money is still not going to look great, and maybe you'll be like, ah, I wish I planted that spike, you know, back in round number 2 and got that extra, was it 300 credits just to spend on my weapons. I'm telling you.
It's like the foresight of when now you're poor and you look back to 4 years ago and you're like, man, if I didn't buy that shirt 17 years ago, I'd have $17 right now, bro.
Hey, it's true. It's true. I mean, there's inflation and everything, but you know, there's no inflation in Valorant, so we don't have to worry about that. That's one thing that's going to be barely acceptable, moving themselves back toward this B side. There's going to be a camera right outside Hookah and a tripwire as well, which will alert Mystic to their presence. But that is going to be paint shells coming out, and they're going to come on.
He literally, as doing the Cypher Cage 2, he reads positions coming in, but he's looking at the back to the smoke cast, even able to find one. So looking good so far. Switches the pistol because he had to reload. Poor guy, once he gets caught out with a little bit of his pants down as well. Ricky takes a couple pot shots, looking it back at the shock darts too, but one after another. Barely acceptable, Kura. Push so far forward to try to catch Mystic on the rotations, and now they have themselves bunkered down into sight. So really nice paint shell. Not making it a 1v2 and a good Reaper liquid at the back. All he has to do right now is just delay. But I believe they're sticking it. Yes, they are, and he dies for it at the end. Winky gets his counterparts 10-4.
It's those shock darts. I'm telling you, they really hurt, especially if they know exactly where you are. That will also be the Hunter Spirit coming out for Winky as that final kill came through. So now that will be available, and on the other side, it will only be a Neuro Theft. None of those impactful early ultimates, but Eclipse is 2 ult points away, so they could potentially try to go for more of this orb control. Haven't seen it too much actually from either team, either getting A Showers orb or getting B Long orb. As B Long orb, you have Mawson kind of staring you down, so I don't blame Mystic for not going for that in that previous round. But this round, I'm surprised that Mystic haven't really put too many members there. They don't have control of that, or Showers orb for that matter. The 2 members playing Showers are playing pretty far back, just behind that dark cover.
Yeah, considering right now they're actually just moving all the way back to the Hookah to possibly try to find out anyone barely acceptable to possibly catch out, as slowly both the Jet and the Sova have made their way into short, trying to catch out one or possibly call in for any of the rotations. As you can see, all the barely acceptable moving in from B to A one after another. Considering all the Cypher tripwires already there, they're looking at the flank. The catch us also peeking in right at the side through Showers. Most of his Mass is there, so getting a nice roll kill. Nice kill already right off the bat. Uses the flash to reposition, but gets pushed in yet again by Eclipse. As Max cannot catch a break as well. The Hunter Sphere used by Winky to stop the play. Able to respond too. He stops an Eclipse, making it a 2v3. Make that a 1v3. Mystic are waking up, Kura.
They were able to punish Mawson, who tailwinded just onto that side, not able to find too much. And that is going to be the pincer coming in from Mystic with Dime on the backside, being able to clutch out another round for themselves. They're going to have to be a little more wary about that showstopper that is available now on the side of barely acceptable. So to make sure that they aren't clustered in those small positions, as you know, it could be an elbow, could be in lamps. But on the other side, they do have the run it back coming out from Moss. So we could see it used to just gather even more information.
I would also look out for the showstopper here as well, be possibly used by Eclipse to enter onto the site. But this yet again speaks to the compositions of having no flash right yet again on you. Muscle as well has already went ahead and popped the knives out too, as it's going to be 3-man who could push Spike is all the way to the back. Make sure they don't lose it right away. Gonna use the dart to catch a little bit of information. She doesn't spot him. Able to clear out Bucket as the Cypher Cage goes up. He gets shot through the smoke. But Eclipse able to make his way in already. Eclipse, he's looking at the back, trying to find one. Showstopper not popped as of yet. He's gonna just throw it over on Apple to catch the next. But Winky is ready for anybody to peek and Messi watch. Just wonder what coming back to the locations, but they're getting shot from all sides now. Just Mosin left in a 1v3. They're stuck back and forth. Misses the knives. No. And look at the defuse. The Mystic immediately overpowering, barely acceptable.
Yeah, it's once again that pincer move coming from Mystic and also just playing around those smokes. As we saw an elbow there, Winky able to take out two members of Barely Acceptable immediately because they did not check the corner. Very unfortunate there, as Mystic are now getting themselves back into this. They have won 3 rounds in a row, and that will be the operator coming out from Winky. Seems like they are going to move toward A, and actually heavy stack here. But Barely Acceptable and the Spike are posturing more toward this B side, and they're only going to be hitting Cast Q.
We'll have to see how possibly Barely Acceptable tries to come back. Like you mentioned, gets peeked in, and Wanky immediately shuts down Mosin. Big first pick, takes down the duelist. I was trying to do a play.
That's the other one.
Poor guy. I was trying to do a play on the whole Teletubby song, but a Dinky Winky, but that it didn't feel right considering he has an op. Considering I don't want any of the Teletubbies to ever have an op on the show.
Kid-friendly show. Come on.
Exactly. Kid-friendly cast here as well, but running back, use at the back. Find more information is pushing in, Barely Acceptable one after another, making the 4v2 spike still in their hand, but Grimmy actually misses the shots. They probably should run it back, but Cass is there for the response. And lives with 1 health.
Ooh. Yeah, Mystic once again just being able to shut down Barely Acceptable. And the money from Barely Acceptable now is slowly dwindling away. This round is going to be really important because if they don't win this, it is probably going to a 10-10 unless they can pull out a miracle on the save round. But Eclipse will not have the showstopper for a little bit. Now, it could get like a lot of kills this round and then charge it up, but we will see. As Mystic, though, will have the showstopper available on their side. Now, that showstopper is going to be playing in showers. Winky, once again, with that operator, will get spotted out by the Hour Drone. And the dark cover will push him back as well, but it doesn't matter.
He really gets smoked up too as Winky takes another couple shots at the back as he sees one after another a Barely Acceptable move in. They're just getting punished for the over-aggression as they're moving it all as 5. See, this was a misadvantage. This is the only disadvantages of not having a flash. You can't force your opponents to reposition. They have clear sight lines on exactly where you are, and with no real cover, no smokes either from the team, or not being able to traverse through the terrain, Mystic has Barely Acceptable's number. And now in a 2v4, they'll either to force the rotation or commit onto side that they'll likely have to save. I would like them to commit to a save if they can, as Dark goes a little bit far.
Yeah, for sure. There's only 2 members left, 40 seconds, and honestly, they might even look to save there. But as I say that, Rodzi will go down as well. This is a 1v4 situation, and a little bit sketchy op shots coming out right now.
Yeah, just barely misses his shoulder as well, but now Grim Reaper at the back knows he has a choice to make, considering he could possibly go back to 1v4. I would like for him to save, but he's not going to do that, as he gets shut down by Dime, he gets peeked by 3 people. What is happening here?
What is happening, I would say, definitely is the lack of flashes coming out from Barely Acceptable. And what I said to kind of counter that would be getting the information with the Sova and with the Cypher. But as we saw there, that dart, not necessarily in the best place, did not provide any additional information to Barely Acceptable. And even though they knew that Winky was playing with that op at the back of A site, they were not able to take advantage of that information. We have Mosin, we have Eclipse that can go onto site very quickly, but they have not been able to get those initial picks right now that they did get on the defense. And so right now, they're going to be trying for this 5-man push up B long, and it is going to be those 2 members trying to hold them off for as long as they can.
At least they use the camera to force Winky to reposition. You're going to use the TP to get it onto the site. They are on the save as well here, Chris, so they know they have to play fast and lose, but not only with their shots, but also the economy considering. But Upsurge use already in the spots at the back doesn't actually stops the plant too, as it being mowed down though. Good, at least shock dart to force cast to clear out the exact tight corner, but Wiki still has the op, Cora. They still cannot afford to move in as a fear being shut down. Leaks in immediately is able to get out. That was so close. Showstopper using a response, so Spike still not planted. Drops
Oh,
it in, takes them out one after another, and it is pandemonium on the sides. Mystic are left reeling. Fallen Reaper getting a gun, and barely acceptable gets around in their favor.
yeah, now they were able to pick up some rifles as well from those fallen members of Mystic. And unfortunately, the retake kind of just fell apart. The retake and hold just fell apart on the side of Mystic. The showstopper was used and did find a member, but unfortunately just looked straight into the crosshairs of that sheriff, looking out from that little cubby. I love holding that little cubby. So I don't blame anyone for being there. But going into this now, it will be that full rifle round coming out from both teams. It's going to be the cam once again, getting that information for Barely Acceptable that there are a few members playing B long. And so with that, they're going to try to be pushing onto A once again.
As they already are able to do so, get some established shadow controls yet again, but the question is how do Mystic respond? And they respond by Millie taking down most, and I believe Jack also gets spotted at the back as well. Wants to all the way go back into spot, use the flash as his teammate. Unfortunately, but I'm not looking into Hookah. They know that at least two, their spike is ticking, and they have to put the work around it. Considering both flashes are down, with these two teams, Jack peeks in, spray transfer is not good, unfortunately. But Cash responds after two to lead. Without stuck in a 4v2. One of them is so extremely low, but it's a nice grenade by Eclipse. That's just spot him out, so they're able to respond. Actually delay the plant as well. Now Cass stuck in a very precarious position. He actually wanted to get one, but Eclipse is only like 9 health. So now just left there. Grim Reaper moved them up to match point.
That was looking very, very dicey for Barely Acceptable. I was about to say it was almost lost because I saw Grim Reaper was playing really far back, right, to take advantage of that Hunter's Fury, which they were able to do at the very end there, just delaying that spike defuse for such a long time. And it's really just Eclipse there, holding down the site once all the other members of Barely Acceptable perished. So that allows them to get that 12th round, and now Mystic gonna have a little bit of a scuffed by with Winky because he has invested in that operator. Now will only be going on that judge. Both those members are holding Hookah right now, but Barely Acceptable are moving a lot of members long. None of them are gonna get spotted out, and that with that Sova drone might have been the Sova error of their own, actually. But this will be a little bit scary as Eclipse is coming from the other side right now.
They take a couple of tags as well for the showstopper, but the splash damage not the same, will not matter. He takes the knife. You thought he was safe, but no. Cash responds. So at least a 1-for-1 down in Hookah, but consider they know exactly where he is, it will not matter here. Curse spike goes down, and now Barely Acceptable are poised and ready to take us into map number 2 with a 1-0 lead. How does Mystic respond is the question.
Yep, they're gonna have to win their gunfights right now, and that is not going to be happening.
No, not at all, unfortunately, but Sosa peeks in with Mask with 2 at the back. They're not stuck in a 2v1, unfortunately, considering they know exactly where he is. They have the shock dart, they have the information, and Mosen has the knives, but Grim has the better angle. He shoots him in the back. So down, Barely Acceptable. Go 1-0.
Yep, and that is going to be 13-9, and I guess Flashless is the new meta. They did not have flash, and they were still able to win that out, as it is just punishing the aggression coming out from Mystic, getting those initial picks without those flashes, or with the Jet and the Raze and the Omen trying to like block those sight lines off, maybe with the Cypher cages as well. I think that did help them a lot at the very end there to try to get those picks that we were talking about.
And although I do agree with you about most things here, the flashless meta, I will die on a hill on. It is absolutely not the new meta at all, not in the slightest. You need flashes. There's a reason why there's 4 flash characters in the game. Valorant wants us to go blind, so put on your sunglasses, Kura, because you're about to see a bright new future, and it involves orange, red, green, and blue. That's the color of all the flashes, by the way. So
Oh, which one's green?
Sky.
Oh, true. I was thinking about Viper because I've been seeing a lot of Viper recently. So
Mm.
I was like, Viper doesn't have a flash.
No, unfortunately not, because if she did, she would literally become
That'd
the
be
most broken
broken.
champ. Yeah, literally the most broken champ in the entire game, and people still might not play her. But that's just my my own reservations, right? As we'll take it to a very short break. When we come back, we will be going on to a set between these two fantastic teams. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back, everybody, to UPL Valor. I'm Ravish Graduate Mekura and Neko, and we just saw a fantastic match between Barely Acceptable and Team Mystic 2. Although it looked very like one-sided in the beginning, Team Mystic able to pull it back in the trenches on the defense, but right at the cusp of it, right at the cusp of it, Barely Acceptable pulling on ahead here, Kura.
Yep, they did. And now it will be very exciting to see them on your new favorite map. Sorry, not new favorite map, your actual favorite map of
Yeah. Mhm.
Ascent. So I'm interested to see if both teams will actually play the same composition, as it is quite a standard composition. Even though it's like flashless on one side, really, it's still considered standard.
I mean, yes and no. I'm still definitely not in favor of it. I would love to
Hey,
see,
people do it.
like
People do
I see it. We've
it.
literally both seen it in the past 3 days. A surprising amount of people opt into this composition. For what purpose? I will not know why, but I understand. You're picking agents that you're comfortable with. Maybe you and your team haven't had a ton of time to scrim. That's
Yeah.
fine. But what matters is that you're on comfortable agents, and that's what I'm seeing here from Barely Acceptable, right? These guys have
Mhm.
the shots. They're clearly very talented players. As I believe we're almost about ready to get into map here and the game very, very soon here to occur. I want to hear your predictions. You think it'll take us to a map 3, or do you think it'll be a 2-0?
Oh, I feel like this is very hard to say. Bind and Ascent, I feel like have different styles. I think
Mhm.
Ascent, you have to like go even like more than you do on Bind. I think, in my opinion, on Bind, you
True.
can afford to kind of play back, get information, but Ascent is going to be taking mid control, taking like A long control, taking B control, and hopefully we'll see a little more altercations between the orbs, as we did not really see that in that last map.
Yes, that's true. You are correct, right? Because considering it was quite back and forth, and most of the ultimate control was really just based around either who got to it first, or if we heard you, we just kill you. That's usually what just happened if they got pushed to the pot or responded in with a Hunter's Fury. So, as I believe one of the players' games unfortunately clashed. So, we should be getting to the map, though, a little bit later rather than sooner. But while we do that here, Kurt, let's talk a little bit about the compositions that you mentioned before we could possibly see, right? Like you said, probably going back to the comfort, probably some similar stuff. Maybe not a cipher. I would prefer not to see a cipher on Ascent. I'm much more of the Killjoy fanatic, just because I think Ascent is definitely one of her best maps, aside from Icebox. But
Hmm.
don't see nobody playing that. But personally, of that preference, what are your opinions?
Yeah, I would say that if you are going with this single Sentinel and maybe like no Astra comp, I'm a very big Astra fan. You know that I've converted to being an Astra fan. So if there's the Astra Killjoy combination, could be very vital for either team to win that round. But if you
Mhm.
go for a single Sentinel, I think Cypher's okay. I think you can get a lot of information because the Ascent is a pretty big map and you need to really know where everyone is at all times. So with a Cypher and a Sova, I think it'd be very useful for either team, as they both did play that in the last map. And we have Rodzi here baiting me a little bit with all the good picks, and that is going to be the
Hey,
Killjoy.
hey, look at that. Rodzi, a man of culture and taste. I respect it. And also, barely acceptable. Bringing out the flashes with the Phoenix. All right. So they
Okay.
decided to change the composition, at least change away from the Braves, which is, I'm very, very cool with that. People do have their preferences. I like Reina a lot too. I think Reina also would have been a very acceptable answer. On the other end, Mystic, a team after my own heart, have picked up the breach. So really good stronghold competition
Select
so
your
far.
agent.
Now, Kura, I've talked to you about Breach endlessly on
Hmm.
Ascent, right? But Mystic should be locking in both the Sova and the Jet here, two rounding out the entire composition. One duelist, a flash character, along with the Sentinel Cypher. Like you said, if you are only have one Sentinel, at least pick a Cypher, so you should be perfectly fine. But I'm liking what I'm seeing so far.
Yep, I am liking what I see so far as well. And I am also a breach stan on this map. Because I think with the fault line, you can just provide pressure from so far away, right? I feel like you could be standing on Cat and you can just go straight down mid and just stop that push immediately. So I think those are really helpful in addition to those flashes, of course, that we like to see on this map. On the other side of barely acceptable, we do have the Phoenix and the Killjoy. Not gonna have the Asher though, which makes me a little bit disappointed, but Omen's still in the meta right now. It's okay, it's cool. I'll give you guys maybe like 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks and then switch over. Or else I'm gonna get mad. Because Asher's just so strong. I feel like she offers such flexible defense, and even though Omen does have those smokes that you can do cross map, the paranoia is just like very close, and those shadow steps are very close as well. So you can't really provide too much of that pressure from where you're standing onto those other sites, as it's going to be barely acceptable actually playing two members in A main, getting that dart, and they're going to know there's a lot of people outside here.
Yeah, the dart actually gave away so much information. Considering they're able to spot all five though, but that actually forced the rotation from Mystic to actually move down into Cat, likely moving the trees, but Mawson is there already, so should have spot them. He definitely hears the footsteps, peeks it onto one, watch them come in and look like they would have pushed in. If he was with the trade here, this could be big, but no! He unfortunately dies, and along with the body, he does actually cover the entire area, one by one. Like, barely acceptable, and just getting, unfortunately, just caught up in unfortunate situations as Spike goes down here, Kurt.
And they were just not able to take advantage of that aggressive guarding control that they had. Both members going down. Now 3 members left, 2 once again coming from Garden. And they have to clear a Cat because they just don't know where they are. And Winky is going to catch out Grim Reaper here. So it is going to be a tall task for these last 2 members.
Now, considering barely acceptable on the previous round, got both of the pistols and started off almost to a 4-1 start. So far already, just looking in favor of the side of Mystic, the peek at the back, and there's the final shot. Dime picking up his counterpart as Mystic started us off hot.
Yep, those early picks, especially onto the fraggers of Mawson and Eclipse, just did not allow for barely acceptable to be able to get back on the site. They didn't have that is the information agent down as also the flash agent down. So that is not the 2 agents you want to see die first. Fortunately happened for barely acceptable, so now Mystic will be in the lead and hopefully able to take a second one as they are once again looking outside of A. This time though, barely acceptable has not looked anyone in A main. Rather, they are going to just push out Cat and see if they can find anybody here at screens or at mid.
Mawson actually is already able to push out 2. Doesn't actually spot them coming and goes back in before. You can see the rotations coming down Cat, so we know there's 2 there. Going for the similar pushes they had before, but nice shot. Actually by Cass, that she opened up mid, Boston peeking at the back, and there was the pick he wanted the previous round. Gets paranoid, gets pushed back in, so she's going to get the gun back as well. But now, this gives the chance for Message to move it onto the side already. Grim Reaper is just chilling up by heaven. You can use a dart to catch more information to see where they are here, Kura. But now comes the retake as they're peeking back and forth. Looking to possibly move in, but won't do it as of yet.
They are running out of time slowly, and now Jag has finally come over from that B site, so they can get ready to push in.
As they look at the back 2, gets up his 2 down in heaven, 1 out of the back, but Dime even gets on Jag. So again, it's kind of yet again, though this is such a tight angle that they're all holding as Mawson and Dime, Mawson peeks onto Dime, making it 2v3. And they all come down one after another onto heaven. He's not looking at Dime, he's bound to a generator, and the crossfire between Mystic will assure them the second round gun diff, bro.
Undev and barely acceptable, able to make it slightly more expensive for Mystic as they took down 3 members that had bought Spectres. Now they will have to rebuy that. Economy will not be so great on either side, actually. So is this going to be critical for both teams to try to win this 3rd round? No impactful ultimate's going to be up as of yet, except Winky. Winky is 1 ultimate point away from getting that Hunter's Fury. So hopefully We will see some orb control come down, something that I really want to see come out for both teams, as that is going to be the Sova Dart at A, and he is backing off. I'm very upset.
Mostly yet again that we know him to be holding down those very aggressive long angles before unbinding with B and on Ascent. It's Cat. They're getting Winky yet again. They've done this tango before, but Winky, unfortunately, the one having his legs stepped on and not having a good time, unfortunately.
And this is once again going to be an altercation going down in Garden. Both looking at each other, but Mystic, they're gonna have backup soon.
Yeah, because we're moving it, peeks at the back. Alarma spots the Molly. Bans and flash on. Unfortunately, cannot respond, so at least to get one, but the Molly will delay the push for a little bit longer, but that's a really big pick coming off the side of Barely Acceptable. And look at it, peeks through mid, cannot find the shots, getting picked up by a classic at the last. That's gotta feel bad. So now they move themselves all the way over to B because the side is completely open. Razi peeks them moving in, but the Kushers can't. They stop him. Grim Reaper is there, gets a spike down. And now just two left at the side. They have the angle onto him. Is happy with the peek in, but he has friends there here, Kura. And the dash 2 will not recover the spike. It cannot do that. Unfortunately, he's barely bit off to the side. And Barely Acceptable pick up their first.
I like how Mystic there were just able to change their mind, going from Cat, just rotating toward mid, because Barely Acceptable didn't really have too much mid control. They had that one member, but got taken down very, very quickly. And the rest of Barely Acceptable had to come in from that CT side, but it was just very important for that spike carrying member to get dropped. And then because of that, Mystic were not able to recover that spike and therefore lost that round. So now they are going to be going on that save slash strange buy coming out from Dime, as they will have enough to buy one of those rifles. So they're gonna have to do a lot here. But once again, it's going to be Mawson. This time they have smoked him out, but I don't know if it will do too much.
Winky knows Mawson is there. He is ready and lying it away. Classic at the back. Yep. Melly pre-fires in, gets a couple shots onto him, but will not confirm the kill either.
Oh.
At least it stops him from dying and clips the double flash to the back. Peeks down to 3. Molly did as well, to stop him from pushing it onto him. And now it's forced all the rotations out from Barely Acceptable. As they get down, Mystic after another, they absolutely mow them like a non-more. Mystic, it's fresh cut grass. Love the smell of that.
Yeah, and Barely Acceptable, they're just able to hold it down, coming in with that fast rotate. Something we didn't see before, as Jag was taking a really long time to come over to B in a previous round. But now, once they hear that, they're just going to move straight over, especially since they knew it was going to be that save round coming out from Mystic. And so once you see one member, you probably have the other 4. So now it's going to be a full rifle round coming up from both sides. Hunter's Fury available and Rolling Thunder available on the side of Mystic. So they could use that to try to get onto one of these sites, as they will be looking toward A right now, as the spike is there, but they are getting some mid control and B control for themselves.
Playing 2 lurkers on 2 different sides, possibly trying to catch out one, because you've seen before how Barely Acceptable likes to push up very aggressively on the defense, the bossy coming for any sort of flanks. But as of right now, they're playing a lot farther back, playing a lot safer there, don't have the round advantage like they did before, so they cannot afford to be as brazen with their pushes here, Kura. But yeah, I'm actually facing TP. I think they caught this as of yet. They're covered at the side too. Where she just broke up being made.
Oh no.
And still looking around.
No.
Hey, peeks at the side. He gets caught. Dime, no, you should have known Mawson was there. He's never not there. That opened up the round as they move it onto the A side. Really trying to use their trees. Spike should be planted. Actually, but Mawson's going to get the side. Peeks in, gets down one. Cannot get the second as the flash in heaven in. And they watch the rain hellfire from above. Rodsy with the 2K. Mystic took too long.
Yeah, Mawson right now is really a thorn in the side of Mystic. And I think they were like, all right, Mawson has played this exact position for 4 rounds in a row. There is no way that they're there again, right? There's no way, but they're there.
Maybe.
As we expected, going to be playing it again. Going to be round number 6 in this same exact position. And that time, they actually did not challenge them. Immediately, they decided to push A main, and was a little bit unfortunate, as if they pushed 3 members down Cat, they could have at least gotten that 1-for-1 trade to try to at least get that member advantage. But all 5 ultimates now coming out from the side of Barely Acceptable, and they're going to be going against that save round coming out from Mystic right now. And it looks like it's going to be a 5-man push toward B. Dart cover is going to go down, which stops them quite a bit. That Recon Dart is not going to spot anybody.
It'll slow their roll along with the fault line, along with the paranoia at the back. So it'll clear a couple of sidelines for Mystic at least. But as they move in, Jaguar has them covered. Gets one, gets a second, but unfortunately cannot find the third as they open up the side. But now the question is planting. Gus moves in, finds the first shot, and that was a run it back to. So he's still alive here, Kura, and doing just fine. And Dandy at the back. Now the question is possibly to make the 2v2, make that a 1v2, and the Sheriff is nice, but not up against ARs.
That was actually really close for the side of Mystic. They were able to pick off those members of Barely Acceptable who are on that B site, get some weapons for themselves, which made the round actually very doable. But in the end, it is going to be Barely Acceptable pushing in as a team and finishing off that round, only using that run it back, which was pretty instrumental in getting those picks. And I thought he was a goner for sure, but it was just that Phoenix ultimate. And now Mystic are going to have a little bit more to work with. They have the Hunter Sphere, which could catch out somebody, but they don't have that Rolling Thunder. We didn't actually see it used to too much effect on that A site. But once that gets charged up again, that will be something to look out for.
Or else otherwise too, they've got literally everything is online. All of them are ready to go with whatever special ability they have supercharged here, but still split spell coming off the side of Mystic, right? And Mosin holding this exact same angle. They do not want to be caught up by him. They have to know he's there. They're so with an actually nice fault line. And I'd be able to it does concuss him a little bit too, and the pre-fires will not clear him out and finally force him to reposition. They had to use so much just to make him back off, bro. This guy plays so aggressive, Kura.
They do, and that is going to be the Silver Drone that spots out those members, but they do not expect Dime here. So Dime will be able to pick off that mid member from Barely Acceptable, and they are still trying to pressure Garden.
Because the Eclipse is moving into, he already has Saturn at the side, doesn't close the door as of yet. As a flash, and actually right into the door. He couldn't escape and get his gun out in time. Tragedy has struck Mystic. Now, but how will the members grieve? Will they go on the aggressive, or will they just mourn his death and try to save it? Personally, I try to save, just if I wanted to mourn properly. But now, Mystic are still going and strong as it looked to possibly moving on to B through market, come back through spawn, but the members waiting. They response them too for some spot shots down. So they know Rod's just waiting at the side as they move it slowly onto A, try to reposition it. So it makes a 3v2. But the members are actually on the B side, so they can't respond to this dive. Get a 3K and a shot down with a double. That electricity is too much.
It is, and it was an interesting choice that Mystic decided to go toward A. Once they came out of mid, I would have actually expected a B push because you know that they have really strong members on A, and those members have not perished as of yet.
No.
So, and there was only Rodzi on B. I think they could have easily overpowered them and at least gotten that spike plant down on that round. Unfortunately, not going to happen. And this round, if they don't win, they will be going back onto that save. So they're really going to have to try to use those ultimates to their advantage. Once again, they're going to be smoking out Mawson. Great idea, but this time you still got to remember that they're probably still there.
I want more people to say that, hey man, actually I just perished 2 people mid. That's I
You
want
left my new words.
I want that to be the most common terminology. It's so it's so medieval too. I should perish 12 people, just like in previous round, but it seems as though none of the members of Mystic will perish so far as they're moving all the way onto the B site. And now we're forcing Barely Acceptable to respond, but Diamond's already been mid. Forcing him to respond, peeks in, spots his counterpart at the back door. But 130 being used in response to boss. We stop the plant for coming in. Obviously, Jack peeks in mid, gets taken down. Dime, what are they doing? They're peeking one after another. He repositions and has one more. If he gets 3K here, Barely Acceptable will have absolutely no chance of possibly responding. Dime's looking away, and the TP at the back gets a ton of shots down into him. Barely makes it out alive. That was so close. Oh my god. Now in a 3v5, it also any members, the bonus at the back peeks in, Sosa gets picked off and see him in the air and is shut down an airplane and Clip speaking in. They're not looking at him either. Makes a 1-for-1 and Winky with the final kill of Grim Reaper, saving the round.
Ooh, that was crazy. And it actually seems like both teams right now are just doing the same thing over and over again, I feel like. So Dime, we always see them mid. Mawson, we always see them cat. And neither of them are really being punished right now. Right? Mawson finally is getting smoked. So they're not able to get those early picks that we saw in the previous round. But now it is Dime that is thorn and barely acceptable side. They know he's there. He's pushed up there for at least 4 rounds now. And they need to deal with that. So now they are going to put 2 members mid just to see if they can catch him off there. But they're not going to go mid anymore. They're going to be pushing more toward that A site with Casq on the lurk. But right now we have the Killjoy actually playing on this A side with those mollies in garden, as I think they expect Mystic to try to push out Mawson from Cat. But it's not going to happen this time as they are slowly moving up.
Just looking here, like you mentioned, right? Ace that's pretty much open. They do ping heavens. They don't spot anybody at all. But the turret really is all the cover they need to final information for Mystic's push. And there comes a Rolling Thunder. Nobody gets affected, and Triple Smoke already on site to cover all the sightlines of Mystic. And as they move in, like at the back gets punished immediately. But as it casts them down, and there. Also, moving lockdown as well. Crossing catch all the members as they move it through heaven, one after another. Here, barely acceptable are just running down midst. They can't even necessarily spawn to them, and they get hit on time. They don't get out on time, and it's just cast left for the spawner to the lurker, but now he's become the lurker. And I don't think it'll matter. They spot here to take him. The Odin just too good. Brrr. These guys.
And that was good on them to actually to catch out the flank coming out from Mawson, coming all the way from Cat. But with that lockdown, you just have to leave or you have to push it. And Mystic there just didn't really do either. So a player got detained on the site. They tried to take those fights, weren't able to win them. And so they were not able to win that round. Going back onto the save should be 7-3 in favor of Barely Acceptable, especially since the Odin has now come out for Grim Reaper. B should be untakeable if he decides to spam straight through this wall, which it looks like should happen quite soon.
Already with the current dart out to the, they are able to get some tags at least onto the members of Mystic. All the way down through Cat, through that dart. He sees where they are. Able to get one and after another. Rozzy also coming in for the mid control. Gets a 3K nonetheless. He pushes up through mid, sticks them all down, and now just Dime left, although they were on the save. But there's almost not much what he can do. He can't really save his health. And that's so flawless from Barely Acceptable.
Yeah, I like how they actually did provide a lot more aggression during their round because, as you said, they knew they were on the save, and Mawson was like, I got this. I'm going in. Able to get some. Rozzy picking some up on the backside when they were distracted by Mawson because who wouldn't be, right? You have the jet, the scary jet that is lurking on Cat right now, and you have to deal with them, or else you're just gonna get mowed down. And with that, got mowed down by the other members of Barely Acceptable. So now in this full rifle round, Winky has gotten an op on the offense, and this is looking screens. I think they're trying to take that Mawson right now, but it is still not going to happen.
Rozzy finally punishing Dime for his mid-positioning. Right, this is what we were talking about before here, Kura. Reading what Mystic wants to do and finally being punished for their habits. That's exactly what's happening. But there's a push out. They're Cat's trying to save this round, but he's just one person. Unfortunately, 8-3.
Last round
as it comes down to it.
Right there, it's, as you said, it's Barely Acceptable punishing Mystic, but Mystic not punishing the patterns of Barely Acceptable. They tried to do that with the operator to pick off Mawson, but the shots didn't hit. That's all you can say. The shots didn't hit, and the jet is very mobile, especially with that tailwind. So that was a very tall task for Winky, not able to step up to the plate there. And so for this last round, they are going to be going on those Spectres and Bulldogs. And this is really hard for them. They will not have any ultimates up except for that Killjoy ultimate on the defender side. That is not going to help them in anyway, as Dime, once again, he's just going to get punished.
Yeah, he's just there though, but at least be able to get one back as a shots don't land either from the side are barely acceptable. Rozzy's looking into, he has already pushed up to, but they know he's there. And the double peak from Max with a bulldog nonetheless, too. Will take down 3 members is barely acceptable. This round is still very possible, but he's looking down. Castle's station at the back. They're able to get a little bit of mid control. Grim Reaper looks in to see if they moved out of sight. And yes, they have. He sees the tripwire already planted. And now he just has to lurk in, wait. That would be the plant sound too. They don't have any ultimates on their side. But cast possibly have to peek in, gets tagged, so they know where they are. Just looking for the 2v2. They're super duper low here, Kura. A couple of breaths of fresh air could possibly knock them out of the park, but they're not looking to breathe. They're looking to thrive. A 4K for Mass, looking for the ace. Reaper peeks in. He has to reload. He knows where he is. Mr. Shot picks him up, and Mystic saves the round.
They saved the round. Again, it was looking really dicey. Both members, the health bar is not looking too great. Information was gained on the side of barely acceptable, but not able to get taken advantage of. But they do have that 8-4 lead going into the second half, and now they're on the offense. And this time they have the flash, right? And they have Mawson. So hopefully they can pair together and actually get Mawson onto a site and not have them immediately get taken down by any members of Mystic. So I think that is going to be one thing that we have to look out for this round. Is Mawson able to get those early picks, or how often will they get punished? This time they're going to be moving toward a pretty typical, nothing too strange, but 2 members are going to be looking mid now, and I think Moss is trying to take the same position that Mawson took in that previous half, but we will see if it is as effective.
Posse looking to punish him for doing the exact same.
Oh no.
At the back, yes, 1, but consider there are 2 there. We're able to get the second, their jump shot, and they're right clicking, and Rods, he's winning on. Oh, I are completely unexpected from my opinion, but consider they're able to actually win that fight. That allows them to move it onto the site. So some looks it at the back. I need to get the flashes, but the blinds are not going to be enough. The cast Q gets double headshot and punch them for the just being out of the open. How did he land all of those?
Yeah, I think Mystic there just were able to take the health bars up barely acceptable so low, especially during that fight in Cat, doing such great work in keeping them off for as long as possible. I believe that was Moss and Dime there, which allowed for the health bars of barely acceptable to basically be at 30 health each. And then when you do the bing, 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 they all just perish. I like saying perish. Perish is going to be my new word instead of die.
Yeah. It's they all die, get picked off, perish, bada bing, bada boom.
Demolished?
Yeah.
Incinerated?
Oh, absolutely flabbergasted with. That's surprising. Don't say that. But we'll see if the members of Mystic and Flabbergasted barely acceptable as of right now. Sosa has actually moved into walking onto Cat using that flash for the breach. I like that position a lot from breaches because I think it's fun, very usable for setup for the water possibly move aggressively onto the spawn site and can be used easily to get yourself out, right? You don't necessarily need a tailwind to do so, Kura.
Yep, and now it's going to be very acceptable once again, pushing in through Cat, and I like how they have actually backed off here. Oh no, Soso's gonna come through.
Peeks in, gets 2 immediately down, and that's gonna be the push of British acceptable really stopped off though, considering it is just Rozzy left. He tried to go for the flank, but he's the one getting flanked as Dolby goes onto his streams. His teammates all dead on the other side, and you'll get concussed for the fun of it. Nice little jump shot by him too. At least we'll pick up the Spectre, so might fix his economy a little bit going into the next round. Like, look at a save at least.
30 seconds left.
Yeah, with 30 seconds left to go, I can't imagine he wants to fight this.
Yeah, but it's still very possible. It does have the Spectre, has 52 HP. But again, this is going to be an uphill battle, especially since Soso is just lying in wait here. Doesn't have any of those abilities left, and there are 13 seconds. Don't know how much he can do here.
Left.
He got picked off to about 11 health, but consider the 3 people there. Yes, Soso will punish him for pushing up so far. You could see that push from him was a little bit so. Thank you. I will take my leave. Appreciate you giving me a giggle, Kara. Go ahead.
Hey, I gave it. I don't. Did the mic not pick it up? I tried to make it like not like too loud. I didn't want to give you too much satisfaction. It was like a small chuckle.
I understand.
Chuckle.
You know what? I respect it, and I thank you for keeping me in check. You know what? This is this is why things work out fine. But let's talk a little bit about Bar Academy setup right now.
Now, Bar Academy. Stop playing Bar Academy. You're really gonna screw me
What?
up here. As the next is gonna move so far forward, and there's gonna be a bloodbath going on outside. It is craziness everywhere. And now, barely acceptable, have been taken down. To have only take one member has been taken down on their side, while Mystic is now completely fractured. What have you done? What have you done to me?
I sincerely apologize, but I want you to know that I was laughing the entire time. That was great. Appreciate you already picking that up. But not for burning acceptable, considering it's a 4v2. Like you mentioned, that bloodbath will allow them to rise back from the ashes. They lost the first two pistols, as they did in the previous couple rounds as well. But now Mystic has a little bit left to respond. They pulled it back to 8-6, and making it an 8-8 would be great. But considering they're at a complete disadvantage, if we get through having to get one after another, but now there's just Castillo left because they know his position. But in the back position, it comes for the footsteps because he definitely heard him coming. So it couldn't come in that aggressive either. But considering it's a 2v1, the way the crossfire is set up, I've seen the setup before. If he possibly had a Cypher Cage, he could have been able to take two individual 1v1s. But the spike is right in front of them, right? So he's just stuck in such a precarious position. He has to peek, and you know he does gets one in the immediate response.
Yeah, that's just really difficult there if you don't have a flash or anything. You did say you could use the Cypher Cages, but I don't know. I don't know if you can win that one. But barely acceptable now with that huge bloodbath, able to pick up a few more ultimate points for themselves as the lockdown will be charged. And Eclipse is one alt point away from that run it back. So now as you're posturing toward B's site, we should see the orb taken, hopefully, fingers crossed, by Eclipse. And that will be the run it back and lockdown to just try to get them that site. We have Cascu right now playing mid-market, and it's going to be the two information agents here, as the other three will be on A. But this time, they're not really taking any aggressive stances, so they will not have this information, and they're going to have to come over now.
Yeah, big draw already used, but the lockdown was already planted, so they can't actually respond to this. That's all just like at the side. That was the right back as well, too, being used, so you should respawn all the way at the back. And considering they did use a lot of ultimates entering onto the site, but they've handily been able to take control here, Kura. With the spike going down, they're now in a 3v5.
Yeah, both members are coming through here, and that cloud burst's not going to last for too long.
Unfortunately, not the shock dart will, though, for last just long enough to tag them a little bit. I consider they're not holding one down. Main two they do have a pretty solid set line. The alarm button to spot them out, but most poking it so aggressively, like you know he does, just leaves Eclipse to take down So in door room. Bye-bye.
And that is going to be a flawless round coming out from Barely Acceptable. And now they have put themselves in quite a sizable lead. 4 rounds. And now it is going to be that Rolling Thunder coming out for Sozo, hopefully able to use that to try to push that back those members of Barely Acceptable, as, you know, it's really hard to counter the lockdown and the run it back on that B site. So at least they will not have to deal with it this time, as they are once again doing the exact same setup on the side of Mystic.
Considering how they're looking so far, it is like you mentioned, right? A little bit split up to same sort of control, but they really give away that mid control, and the clip's not flashing. It gets punished by Dime, and allowing the smoke and the teleport to be able to reposition to. That's such a nice pick to start off the round here, Kura. Exactly what we want to see.
Here.
Yep, and now since Barely Acceptable are down one member, they're gonna have to try to play a little more together, and that togetherness will be up mid. There is that tripwire right here just to spot them out. They're gonna have to break it at some point, because not everybody can hop over like the Jet.
Yeah, you know, no, you also can't play Limbo in Valorant either. So
Unfortunate.
right, a tragedy. Absolutely, there's no hero that bends, but at least float at this point. So like you mentioned, tripwire, not doing that just of yet. But Jag, I believe, actually uses TP to find a little bit of information as to where Barely Acceptable might be. So it definitely weaves the push and will force out all the way to the side of Mystic as they make their way onto the site. Now it is optimistic to possibly respond, but Now they're looking around the site. The Ghost is there too. The shots that they're on the high ground is just so advantageous. It doesn't even matter. All of Mystic and mowed down. And yet again, Winky and So left alive. Where have I seen this before?
I actually really liked how Mystic just tried to get on the site as fast as they could, using that Cloudburst and additional Spoke to get the jump, or at least try to get the jump on Barely Acceptable, as there were already 2 members on that site when there was none before, but still going to be a very difficult situation.
Considering the Reaper's already looking in, he's looking by stairs, so he sees them coming in, and like you mentioned before, right? They're on the safe, so there's only so much they can do. We don't expect a lot of Mystic to come around. All we can hope they can do is at least make it expensive for Barely Acceptable. As they're looking a little bit back and forth, they have no utility on their hand either. And if they save, it's definitely not worth it economically. Just looking at the back, and as I believe, as they all get punished, Barely Acceptable, all down the site except Moss.
Up, and now that will be a little dent in the economy, but not too much, as they have run the past 3 rounds and it has been good. And it's going to be the Odin actually on Eclipse now, which is a very interesting choice on the Flasher. Not something I would expect, but Winky going back on that operator for B site, hoping to pick off any initial people who are just looking through aggressively toward B main, as it could actually be a lot, since there are 4 members here, and that's going to be the flash coming out. Nothing able to get capitalized on, though.
But does at least force the operator to reposition. I don't believe that they definitely heard the operator there too. And considering Winky, they're not yet again looking at the back, all the way moved it onto site, right in by Boathouse to catch the rotations coming in. But Barely Acceptable have opted into moving through mid. The Cypher is there, along with the Tripwire to Casket Flash, has a cage there as well, looking to respond and catches the legs for Grim Reaper too, but doesn't see them. Oh, as he actually able to catch two, so they know they're moving it through mid here. Chris Social might be in a little bit of trouble. He has the flash, but he can't do it to possibly respond. And there's the drone. That makes us look to move in.
Now we actually have Dime here that is already in wine.
Yeah, looks at the back too. So, like you mentioned,
see
Dime, he gets one. Does he get the second? Doesn't actually spot them at all. But with him being at the back, that's such a big pick. Considering now there's Corner and Pincer on both sides. They don't know which angle to respond to, and they're getting shut down one after another, eviscerated. Even this doesn't work for you. You possibly use Mystic for what that.
Yeah, that is a nice word, and it is just going to be Mystic, knowing that there are a lot of members mid, so they were able to move into those positions, like in wine on site, that Barely Acceptable did not expect for members to be there. So that is good on their part, as they will be able to keep the up on Winky and start to close that round disadvantage. Now the 2 ults are still not charged yet from Rodzi and Eclipse, so they're gonna have to make do with what they have in the Bladestorm and the Hunter's Fury. And they are once again moving toward this B side. Bladestorm has already been popped, and the Sova drone will lead the way. Oh, but Mawson will just get taken down by Cascu here, and that is one of the duelists already down.
Mystic too, definitely looking to bring this round back to considering Barely Acceptable. Almost did it. It was one away from match point, to poised to possibly make this a 2-0, but considering all they have up on the side of Mystic too, they can easily spot this. Jack peeks and spots the shoulder. Actually, a Winky, but he has the op too, so it might not be the same punish, because you saw shoulder with a Reaver. It's like it'll be nice. It'll be couple shots, putting down to 60 health, but a shoulder with an op shot is shooting that. So you definitely don't want. Darko is actually able to spot that mid, but no, actually the dark cover did also anybody as of yet.
And Winky on the other side with that operator in market be so critical in stopping the push from Barely Acceptable. Now there are 2 members mid, and Dime is getting ready just to flash them right now.
Doesn't even need to at all. What's that being opt down to? So now that really gives Barely Acceptable so much space to move in, but Mass keeping the same super aggressive angle, punishing Barely Acceptable for all the tremendous picks they had in the previous couple of halves. And there we go. Mystic able to bring it back. Barely Acceptable taking too long.
Yeah, as I was saying, it's really just the patterns coming out from both teams and which team can punish the patterns either faster or more often. Because you see, once again, it's just going to be the hold from Moss and Diamond Cat, and barely acceptable that time. We're not able to do anything about it. Kind of reminiscent of Moss in that same exact position in the previous half. It's going to be up to barely acceptable now to try to break those patterns of Mystic. At least Dime is not pushed up mid again. He'll be helping Moss and Cat. And that's going to be an early off shot. It will kind of scare off those members of barely acceptable as they are not going to have too many weapons to work with.
Like you mentioned, they're pretty acceptable on the save this time, right? So just probably opting to play it and play as aggressive as they can, get as many credits as they can. But Jag, at least with one Vandal in his hand, he could possibly use that to open up the round. But look at how they're all set up on the side of Mystic. They're all kind of just bouncing and weaving back between A2. But they're getting spotted out by the tripwire, so they read the possible mid push. There are two on site for A, and the camera will spot the push coming into Paranoia out to. Castbook's in the cage to possibly see if anybody's gonna push him, but unfortunately not. Both cages out, they're peeking at the back, no kills as of yet. They're just looking back and forth despite anybody at all. There's still one member, a very acceptable down there, market to possibly catch up one to rotate. One just goes back and forth. The rolling thunder stops them all up as back and forth. The knives him out for Sam at least. He gets a 2K for himself, looking for the 3. He's looking for the possible win onto the site. If barely acceptable actually are able to get this round, this could be big for them. But no, unfortunately not. The gun event is just too much.
It's going to be just the rolling thunder coming out. And even though it wasn't able to stop the spike plant, was able to disrupt those members of barely acceptable and allow for Mystic to come in and just clean it up. Much needed round on the side of Mystic as they have closed the gap with a 3-round win streak. 2-2, and the operator's still in play, and they have more than enough money to buy that in the next round should they lose this one as well. But for barely acceptable, if they lose this, they are going on to that save, and it could be that 11-11 tie. It's going to be very important. Hopefully they are able to pick out one of the more aggressive members here, maybe this operator, because it has been a thorn in their side currently. But it is going to be up to Mawson right now. Will actually get smoked out here.
No,
but spotted out.
I was going to say, Kurt, last time you mentioned this 11-9 half, I believe it was right on by barely acceptable. We're in the exact same position. And then suddenly they took 3 rounds in a row, which I know all of us were decently surprised at as well. But the way it's looking right now, they decided to slow their roll just a little bit and play with the same sort of default position they've had before. Sitting right now, yet again, looking back through a immediate running back pop after being knocked out. But considering with the way they're looking, the running back push immediately will not. Well, actually, Winky doesn't even necessarily need to reposition. You still have control of trees, waiting for the op shot to go in to allow them to push in because they don't want to get picked off. A spray op shot, a stolen op shot, right? Actually, they don't push in. They wait for the firewall to go down immediately. Now, like, stuck in a tough position.
Yeah, I like how Eclipse here is trying to make as much noise as they can, but they haven't made noise in a long time, so it's going to be Mystic actually rotating back toward mid, and they will be able to catch out Mawson.
30 seconds left.
With him being down to that signals for very acceptable to move it onto the side. Guess what? At the back, the Cascue does have his back turn to them, but actually Sam has already moved in, able to get one. Spike still not down, as now it is planted as those ding-dims come in now. How will Mystic respond is the actual question. Just barely on time. They had 12 seconds only. The setup already for barely acceptable to get all position in and out of the site with Phoenix coming in at the back to Eclipse is such a nice position to possibly if anybody come in or the flying 2 or either to be made, and it is just so remaining on his end, right? He doesn't have any flashes left. He has a fault line. He could possibly just use the rupture. There it is. Able to catch out Eclipse moving in. So making a 2v1, all they have to do is not give it to individual 1v1s. They don't even need to. Check, it's 3K.
Yeah, Eclipse there had an amazing position. I was going to say that they did not distract Mystic for long enough, but because they kind of forgot that they were still there, they were able to take that back end and just come in from A and catch out those members of Mystic off guard. And at the end there, So did their best in at least getting that lurker player, but unfortunately not able to finish it off. And now for this round, we are one ultimate point away from the lockdown. So hopefully, B Orb, I'm looking at you. If that goes down, they should be able to get that lockdown and potentially go on B. Run it back is not going to be available though, so they won't have that same exact combo. But there are no offensive ultimates from the side of Mystics, so they're going to have to be very careful here and just win the gunfights with the flashes and try to cut off some lines of sight with smokes.
And considering Monster actually got spotted by the dart right at the beginning too, so it doesn't give him the element of surprise. Both Winky and him are dueling opposite. Who's more patient? And it is Winky! Gets down a glimpse and takes most actually takes a big hit too all the way immediately inside. Considering now making it a 4v5. Fairly acceptable. Looking to take us home with a 2-0 and Mystic fighting for survival in this game for week number 1. Looking to show up and show their stuff right here on Upsurge your crew.
Now, Barely Acceptable are going to be making their way toward A. Dark Cover is going to come out just so nobody can be holding in cap, but it's going to be So just holding in Heaven.
At least with the flash into, he gets a spike down as well, so he's able to read the push, making a 3v5, but they can't even make it onto the site. They haven't been able to plant yet. 2 of the flashes so good, but he runs out of flashes, out of health, and out of time. Not making a 3v4, at least it's a really big punish now. Sam moving it, they haven't closed the door either, but look at the tight end of the hole, they know he has to be there. Put some shots in, Reaver with him, that shoulder peek, gets punished, so they also move it to A main. And that's just like that, barely acceptable, get taken down, no one's watching Heaven.
Right there. Honestly, I think the shot from Winky that was able to pick off Eclipse and then actually leg Mawson with the Colat just one Mystic the round. Because when you don't have those duelists to get onto site, it's just really hard because I think they do also like push it out a little bit just to get more information about where Mystic are coming from. And without that, their hold becomes weaker. And so now it is going to be Barely Acceptable going back onto the save. They have how many rounds? 2 more map point rounds. Actually, whole match points. Series points. There we go. Series points left to work with in this match. But this round should not be one of them, as they're going to have to be very careful of this operator once again. It's looking here and, ooh, doesn't find anybody.
Yeah, he doesn't get spotted, but they know the Cypher Cage is there. At least Cascade peeking to the side, along with Judge giving most posters so aggressively. But Sam is punishing everybody coming in through Speedway. He's peeking in, but finally somebody takes him down. And there's just Grim Reaper left with the op. He has 8 health. He's up against 3 people, and it doesn't matter. Mystic, 1 round away from taking us to overtime.
Barely Acceptable there did their best with what they had, got onto the side, able to take down that operator, which was very critical because that's going to hold such long sight lines. And now 1 more point for Mystic to be able to tie this up, and the defense right now is looking great. They are on a roll, and it's going to be Winky once again holding mid, and Mawson here is going to have to be so careful. We do not want a repeat of what happened 2 rounds ago.
That would be the opposite of bueno here, but with Musk getting picked off right at the beginning, he has to know Winky's holding here. Because Winky was in B-main at the side. Don't do it, man. You know it's not worth it. At least smoke it. At least smoke it, please. He's there. Winky peeks in. He doesn't know. He definitely heard the footsteps coming in, though. Because they know they spotted him mid. Looks at the side. He spots the hilt of his gun. He speaks in. No! Oh. Pain unknown this time, but at least they know the operator's made it. As soon as he looked down the barrel of that operator, he knew it was all over, Kura.
They knew it was over indeed, but they still have 2 offensive ultimates right now. Lockdown is going to get popped, but this should be a Hunter's Fury to counter that. There we go. It is going to come. It is going to come out.
Yeah, like you mentioned, immediately able to destroy, so it won't necessarily matter, but actually using that to spot at the position for a couple members of Mystic at least, because they're making it a 3v5 so far. Yet again, barely acceptable. Look at the peek and Social all the way on Heaven has been punishing all these positions here, and both opcrafts used all the way at top. They're not taking control of most of these sight lines, and they're just getting punished. We're going to overtime.
Switching sides.
We are, and it really looks like the defense is where both teams shine right now. And which team was it? Mystic able to come back from an 8-4 to tie it up. That is absolutely unbelievable.
I agree. Unfathomable, absolutely gastronomical. Wait, that's the
Gastronom
science of food. That's different.
astronomical?
Astronomical. Sure, that's the one. Yeah. Different
I was
words,
gonna be
one
like, are
letter
you gonna
different.
educate me on new words? But that is not one of them. Mhm.
Yeah, it's. I mean, gastronomical is definitely a word. It's just food science though. So
Yeah, just not right.
yeah, it's. I might be hungry, but let's go ahead and talk about what these teams are doing right now.
Yeah, right now, as I said, it's just going to be punishing the same people over and over again. This time, not going to get that initial pick on Mawson, though, so they will still have to be careful of them. But Mawson, this time, has backed off all the way behind that Killjoy utility, which I think is a really great idea, because the Paranoia, even though it spots him and the Flash, will not be able to get taken out.
Instead
Oh,
of along with the
oh,
alarm butter as well, just delaying the inevitable at this point. But Razi peeks in and he's finally popping off again. We saw Razi be such a factor in those defensive rounds, just mowing down all the members of Mystic. Spike's not down as of yet. He's getting it heavy control, taking on either side, but it's also peeking in. He knows where they are at least. And the double making it a bit more even up to get down to a 2v3. No way, Kurt. They might actually do this. Grim Reaper dig in. Gets one shot, 2v2. He spots him. He's paranoid. He's
oh,
blinded.
no,
He's waiting for
no.
a peek. Shot dart. No, he punishes. He pushed a bit too early. And now just like that, so it's 3K. What?
Wow, and that is Mystic taking a round off of Fairly Acceptable, and that was the defensive round that was so strong. And I think right there it's just going to be so punishing those members of mid from Barely Acceptable that were trying to push out and trying to flank. So great idea on the side of Mystic, and now they are 1 point away from tying this series up. And they are on the defense with Winky on the Odin. This time it is not going to be that naked op, but it's still going to be a really strong hold here at B.
I want to see the smoke off this heaven side. Soso has been able to punish Barely Acceptable again and again and again by holding down the sight line. They were never able to make it onto A, and even when they were to, you saw they gave him just so much free reign. With complete open sight lines, he's not being punished at all, and we see that Barely Acceptable are not capable of doing so, unfortunately. They're too busy focusing on everywhere else because they're always so clustered on sites, Kura. And this is not what I want to see out of them, especially the team that took Bind so handily previously. But now, as look to move in through mid, though the three already strong there too. The Spike already at the back. Tripwires there should be destroyed, but they have the crossfire set up outside of Mystic. So this could be bad. Spots to shoulder. They could possibly smoke it out to give them a bit more room or just flash it as well.
And now Barely Acceptable are going to be backing off mid with 2 members. They're going to be trying to pincer in from A main, but they are going in right now mid.
They're not even blinking it as well. At least Trade Club comes in, is moving on to the B side. Like I said, they should look to splash it, but Winky looks in. He's not looking at the right sideline, unfortunately. And now it is all up to Barely Acceptable. They need to be able to get this round to stay in the game. But now we're at 3v3. We were looking at, he needed to land that shot. Sam is deadly with it, unfortunately. And now with the flash is stuck on green boxes. Watch this to come up absolutely huge, but he misses the shots. Down gets 3K. That's it. It's all over. Mystic win the round and the map. We're going to Haven.
We are going to Haven. At least we've gotten those 2 maps that teams play very often out of the way, and we'll be going to the more exciting 3 Spike site map.
Yes, indeed. The Mystic with a heroic pushback on the defense, just punishing what Barely Acceptable had to bring out over and over again. But it was a very close match between the two. So with that being said, we're going to cut it to a very short break. And when we come back, we'll have map 3 between these two teams. Welcome back, everybody, to the Upsurge Valorant stream. Week number one, nonetheless. So we're already off to a banger here, Kara, between Barely Acceptable and Team Mystic, making it a one-to-one.
Yeah, and that last map was absolutely insane. Team Mystic coming back from an 8-4 deficit to win it in overtime 14-12. And the defense side from both teams just looks so strong right now.
Yeah, you can see it too. It is completely understandable why they're looking a little bit back and forth, right? And why they would also opt into possibly taking attack first, especially on the side of Team Mystic, because they can, okay, you know what? On the defense, we'll be stronger. We'll try to accumulate as many points as we can as of right now. But yeah, defense literally just is king, especially on Ascent, right? If you can hold a
Mhm.
little bit better, you'll be able to do better. But right now on Heaven, I don't think it won't be the case.
Yeah, we will see. I think I do like playing a double sentinel on Haven just to get more information, honestly, and to
Mhm.
hold down that A and C site because I feel like not too many teams do play for the B site. So as long as you're able to hold those exterior sites, you should be okay. And should as a very strong should.
Mhm.
You don't know. Sometimes teams try some crazy strategies.
I feel like B-side is almost such an afterthought between so many of these teams, right?
Yeah.
It's that thinking, okay, all right, cool. So we can't go A and C has an op. I guess we go B and just see what happens, right? Just immediately try our luck. But we'll see what both these teams have to say because it is 1-1. But every single time we've seen Fairly Acceptable come out with a pretty sizable lead, but Team Mystic always seems to claw their way back, Kura.
hmm We could see that this time. Haven, I feel like can do a lot more things on attack, so I will be looking for Team Mystic to try to get that early lead. But we'll see. We will see, as it didn't need to happen last time.
Yeah, as I believe we're about to go into the next map very, very soon. So should be a fun time across the board. Now, this time, I believe Haven, I truly see as the map that really is the great equalizer, right?
Mm,
Between so many of these teams, because you really need to know what you are doing to be able to counteract the other team's aggression, where they're holding, and how you want to push.
mhm,
Considering that because the map is so large, you can't just call over all rotations right away, especially coming over these post plants. That's one thing I'm going to need to see be improved on the side of Barely Acceptable because it always seemed as though that they were coming out of source, especially on Ascent. As soon as the spike could go down, they would immediately not be ready for just I want to say like hyper counter aggression that was coming out from Team Mystic.
mm,
When they were just
mhm.
going down one after another, especially especially coming from the side of So on that breach. Like I know breach is good, bro, but chill. At least like use your abilities, not your gun, right? You're just putting it all because. But across the board, yeah, right now the way I'm seeing it, it is definitely anybody's game.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to also see what kind of patterns each team has on Ascent because we saw, not on Ascent, on Haven. Because as we saw on Ascent, both teams just had, default playing positions that they were just always in. And whatever team was able to capitalize on that was able to finish off the round. So we will see. Maybe it will be Mawson holding A or holding C with an operator. On the other side, it
Mhm.
could be Winky holding A or C with the operator and trying to punish that. So maybe we will see more flashes. Hmm? That's a thought.
Yeah, I mean, I would like that. I would love more flashes personally, just be able to clear a lot more of these sight lines, and just so just so we see Birdie Acceptable not playing as confident as they do
Hmm
in so many of these very open sight lines, right, going throughout the map. Because previously we saw with the way with the way Winky was holding all these ops, right? Every time he's usually down on B or he's holding in mid, and
hmm
almost every single time there'd be no smokes to counteracting, be now flashes to make him like reposition. He was getting picks of people just moving it out of the open, right coming, having passed the door through pizza, just no smokes, no nothing at all. They would just traverse all through the open like a field of metal, la 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 la, la and then get popped over at the end.
Yeah,
Trust
for
me.
sure. I do agree. Hopefully, we are able to get into this map soon. But I want to know your thoughts, Ravish. Who do you think is going to take this series?
None of them. I think none of them win
Oh,
here.
yeah.
No.
Hold on. Somebody has to win, right? Somebody
You're
has
right.
to.
You're right. We have to be the objective third parties. We have to try to put forward a very equal narrative between them because I'm all of the opinion that everybody just shake hands. We say, GG, guys, we'll call it a tie and they'll move forward, right? But
What? Huh? That's not how this works.
you're right. It's not. Unfortunately, it is win or lose, right? It's a cutthroat world. But as I believe we're cutting to a very short break, and when we come back, just while we get everything back in order, when we come back, we'll have map number three for you. Don't go nowhere. And welcome back, everybody, to UPL. Like we said, we would roll it into Haven as soon as he got back. Everybody's resetting, making sure we're all okay. And Kura, as you look in, the composition is looking eerily familiar to what we've seen before.
It is. Oh, I do notice one thing that is different though.
Ooh.
Cascu is going to be going on that Sylvan. Winky actually switching over to that Sentinel. So we will see whether or not that was the correct switch, as maybe Cascu doesn't like playing Killjoy. Maybe that's it, right? They want to switch it up. They don't want to have that Cypher anymore. Looks like we're gonna get Phoenix flashes on both sides. This is what you wanted.
Yes, because you know what? This is what the world wants, Kurt. This is
Is
what
it?
everybody wants. Yes, to be able to use flashes to move in on site, right? Get some control, clear out sight lines, not get punished by operators in very long angles where we do not have smokes or any sort of information, right? That's called being a dum dum, and we don't want to see that happening. Is that right here, girl?
I guess so. That is correct. Hopefully we don't have blind peeks into the operator, because as you said, that is no good. Absolutely no good.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
now it's going to be a barely acceptable on the defense with three members stacked up toward A, and they are looking to push A long right now, which
Yes,
is
they
a
are.
feel like this is kind of like a little bit scary. There's the Phoenix, which could provide with some flashes, Jeb with the smokes, and Silva with the information. So we are going to see who wins out in this 3v5.
Hopefully the information wins. I'm actually a big fan of information, but immediately as they
Oh,
have the double do have the double setup onto A long, though they immediately punish the entire push. So the dart is big as it catches them all out. Although the spike is saved before they can overcommit onto any side. There's the fourth mistake to reposition. Barely acceptable. Starting it off hot. They lost both pistol rounds in both halves in the previous round, Kara.
yeah, they did. And now Mystic are just left kind of wandering around here in A short, wondering where exactly they can go. Now, barely acceptable. They're not going to let them in anywhere. So they have to kind of overpower Moss in here to at least have a chance of getting onto this A site.
They're kind of just stuck, right? Right in the corner, right in sewer, looking a little bit back and forth to where they could possibly, like you mentioned, where they could traverse through with the land is fury and the air is good. They won't be shot down as I believe the triple peak is Mosin. So at least that'll work after the shot that goes in, peaks it. Nice little shot at the back, at least gonna punish down Mass and Spike will be planted as of yet. Just one member left for Mystic. Nice jumping right click, at least, and he will get his due diligence with a little bit of revenge.
Jumping right clicks everywhere and going around as Mystic tried the best that they could to get onto that A site. And now it's going to be barely acceptable with a strong start on the defense, winning out that pistol. Hopefully we'll be able to win that second round as well. And if it is an 8-4 half this time, could be pretty good because I think Haven is more favored for those attackers because, again, as we said in the pregame, there are so many places you can go. But that time, Mystic were kind of just stuck in A short. They could have actually rotated it out because no one was flanking them. But they decided to, we've already committed A. Let's just keep going. And as this time, they're going to be going into garage.
Yet again, Jet comes out the big pick, reaches into the smoke. The dart would not spot him. Actually, nice peek at the side, but the distraction will not work, unfortunately. Missy just stuck down on grass, one after another, right? There's just they're just straight up not having a good day here for them.
They are not. And Winky, they're gonna try their best here, but all those members were just taken down in garage one by one. Silva Dart, even though it provided some information, was not able to be capitalized on. So Bar Academy, I said Bar Academy, I hate everything.
I didn't say this time. You started it.
Barely acceptable are going to be taking that second round, and if they win this bonus, it will put themselves hopefully in that 4-0 lead. But they have decided to go for a more default setup with actually two members toward this B site, which is not something I see often. I feel like I see two members A or maybe two members C, but never two mid. But it could work out for them as Mystic have their sights set toward garage and mid right now with Winky holding that flank as the Killjoy.
Yeah, Spike is moving in. They know the raise. They should be able to see the raise at the side. Creeps into the smoke. There we go. Spots him at the last second, right? So you're not supposed to move with this back. Also moving in. Too. So also has some really big plays on ascent on the bridge on the left, but now on the raise. Can he duplicate?
Oh!
Same sort of effect. Yes, he can. Look at the sliding headshot. The last little bit of wall bang action all the way at the back just to clear. So possibly clearing up garage. I know they expect to have at least one person set up in garage. They wouldn't expect the two-man set up garage, would they? But it doesn't matter because they're going to A.
They're going to be hit with Rotzi, with that camera, and with those tripwires on site. They're going to be getting a lot of information right now. Hopefully they're able to get that first pick, and they are, but not the second.
Rodzi on reloading out in the open, man. You cannot be doing that. But Reaper can't be doing that either, unfortunately, as they were a little bit outgunned. Got punished, unfortunately, just being out of the open, Kurt.
Yeah, for sure. So Mystic, they're able to take advantage of their gun advantage. and pick up that first round. I need another word for advantage. Do you have anything? You've been providing me with good words
Sure.
today.
Sure. Maybe preference. Leverage is one. You could
Fun
possibly
leverage.
use the weight being in their favor, so favorable. You could possibly use to. The scale has, like the scale has tipped onto their side. All these
Okay.
words and more you can find at the restores.com, bro. You can find it in the description.
Hey, well, who needs that when I have my co-caster with me, right?
Who's that guy? I don't like him.
Ah, but it's okay. This round, that's going to be the Silver Drone just coming up mid, trying to get some more information. I actually have one coming out of Garage as well, and that will spot out one member from Mystic. So now I barely acceptable know that there should be some people potentially lurking around middle, and now Mawson will be on high alert.
Oh,
Not able to get one though.
unfortunately, I want to see Boston play the autopsy one of these times, right? He
Oh,
always
yeah.
seems to be in a position to punish some of these positions, but as they're moving through C, they don't get sputtered out. But the paranoia is nice. They right through the green boxes. Jag with a really good shot as well. Arthur Spears all the way down long. Arthur from all bunch stop. And there's Boston with the shot. 12 health. But it does not matter. Mystic make it a 2-2, so not out of it yet. Still have control of the spike, but look at where barely acceptable are.
30 seconds left.
They are playing so far back. There are 25 seconds left. Mystic need to decide where to go, and I think they've decided to go A. But again, this is where all that information from Rodsy is, and they will know immediately as there's 15 seconds left, and all they have to do right now is try to delay the spike if they
10
decide to
seconds
go
left.
on. There we go. That's the information. Spike will get planted. Yep, Spike gets planted.
Yeah. Now comes the positioning too. Although the dart doesn't spot them in the last second, we're able to hold, and they both decide to hold immediately offside. A good call, and as long as the turret's set up too, they're gonna commit the lockdown to this as well. Really, really
Oh.
good. They really want to bend this back. They want to make it at least 2-2. Not to be out of it just yet, but they can just hold it. They're literally all they have to do is waste and kill time, and possibly wait and hold for that BB as they look to peek in. So we're gonna try to body block as much as they can. So they're getting picked up. They're already at half. He peeks
Oh.
in. Triple clutches the round.
That was crazy there. It was almost winnable for barely acceptable. I thought that flick up from the spike was going to be able to take down that member of Mystic. Unfortunately, that is not the case. As Winky and Soso, they didn't have any more stalling utility, and they had to rely on those guns. And the guns, I guess they're more reliable than the abilities, right? Because people can shoot abilities, or you can miss. Well, I guess you can miss on guns too.
You can. Shockingly so. You'll be surprised how much I missed, but this isn't about me. Go ahead.
Yes, this is about the game. As barely acceptable right now are going to be going on that save, and they're just going to be pushing straight up mid right now, and it's going to be up to Winky to try to hold them off if they come up any further.
Running back also used, but it doesn't find any information at all as you respawn back. But at the last second, Eclipse finds the respawn point, like you were mentioning. Winky's able to hold it down, but gets punished still. And now for 2-2, so barely acceptable on the save as well. But Mystic looking poised and in position to hold on the C side. They have the gun advantage, they have the man advantage, they have the heart advantage. They have the confidence in doing so. Yeah, that's like
One enemy remaining.
well, actually, never mind. Already coming to one here, back and forth. The sideline's really clean for them too, considering they're able to spawn exactly where not Bar Academy, but Barely Acceptable wants to come from, and it's just Grim Reaper to the left, all the way down long too. So when smoke dissipates, he should die, but will opt in to save his gun. A good call by him.
Yeah, at least they were able to pick up a rifle at the backside just to make that retake a little more doable. But it is not going to happen. Showstopper was good and just stopping those members of Barely Acceptable from coming up C long. So now Mystic are going to be in the lead.
Can I guess
So
it?
far, 3-2, and they will have that run it back and the Hunter's Fury available, which are those aggressive ultimates that could allow them to pick up those members of Barely Acceptable should they choose to try to push a little more aggressively. May not happen this round as they only choose to do that when they are on the save. But again, still is a possibility, and they do just try to need to catch out any members of Barely Acceptable that they can. Still seems like the same setup is coming out from Barely Acceptable. 2 members mid, although this time they have changed the garage and mid player. So they actually have Grim Reaper at mid while Jag is holding garage. But that's going to be the Hunter's Fury coming out. Not going to tag out anybody though, as the drone comes out mid and will at least get some information about the members of Mystic.
I thought that at least they were able to get one little bit of tag, but because I saw one player light up, so should have just been a little bit of information given over the side of Mystic at least, rather, right? But considering they're already on a 3-2, it's now. Kurt, you asked me before, but who I believe has the advantage in this matchup, I gotta give it to Mystic. I think Mystic are poised to possibly take and do the reverse sweep up against Barely Acceptable. The flash comes in, running back on to use the final information. Does appear to be on site. Alex takes out the tripwire, at least so able to move in, makes a little bit of space, but won't necessarily matter. TPs in, spots him, will not commit to it, so he knows they're all down by A main. Spikes his that's not planted, so I'm trying to get her, and he's actually able to do it so he doesn't die. That's absolutely wild. Because they were able to punish their positioning. Now, the Mystic all holding kind of all both on and off side, all matter about the shots. The death match starts right here, right now here to Kurt. Come in and enter the ring. Because they're going to get absolutely bloody. The Eclipse to get 3K. All of Barely Acceptable are just getting picked one after another. Ricky cannot save this round. Although he gets a 3K, cannot get the ace. Barely Acceptable bring it back.
That was a very chaotic fight on the site, both run it backs being used. It was only get 1 or 2 kills for either of them. But in the end, it is just going to be Barely Acceptable, just encroaching slowly onto that site and pushing out those members of Mystic who were basically all holding an A main or short. So very good on that, and a very good coordinated retake, which will bring it back to a 3v3 and once again that full rifle. No operators coming out as of yet on the side of Barely Acceptable. As we said, we really do want to see one on Mawson, especially since they are holding at C. But it's okay. Sometimes the Phantom can do things, right? But Mystic this time will be pushing toward that A site, and Barely Acceptable are going to hear this, and they are doing the early rotate.
Bomb grenade out.
They really respond to that aggression. The wing, you're looking to punish that, possibly pushing the lockdown. So now Barely Acceptable have a choice to make. Either they peek in first, try to get some early picks to possibly stop the plant, or just wait this out. And honestly, the easiest choice is just to wait this out, despite what we planted though. So now comes the retake from Barely Acceptable. How they possibly respond is 3-1 all the way down to the main. As Grim Reaper actually is detained at the side, but they don't necessarily find him, so they don't know where he is. Molly goes out a little bit late too. But the flash are coming at the back too, as Rossi tries to the turret. Only one falling back in front, making a 2v1. And just like that, Grim Reaper peeks in, is just knocking him down into hell. And it doesn't matter because Grim Reaper throws his position. The Edgelord takes down the Edgelord.
Yep, and there we go. Barely Acceptable able to take that 4th round after, once again, another chaotic fight trying to come onto that site. And honestly, it's a little bit confusing with all of those hot hands coming down. Like, how do you tell if it's your hot hands or the enemy's hot hands? I feel like it doesn't even matter too much because you get damage for both. So it's like, just don't step in the fire. And that kind of just caught out a lot of members of Barely Acceptable, as they were just stuck back in defender spawn and not able to come onto site with Eclipse. But Eclipse was able to stay alive long enough and actually pick off 2 members of Mystic. And that allowed for the rest of Barely Acceptable a little more time to trade him out, as he did perish at the very end there. So this time, the ultimates now are in favor of Barely Acceptable. They have the 2 that I was talking about before, the Run It Back and the Hunter's Fury, but Jag is pushing up so far, and that is the initial pick.
You get spotted up by the tripwire right at the beginning. Consider a Mystic on the save as well, so fortune looking a little bit out of sorts, right? And now, Barely Acceptable. 2. So they've been able to maintain the current advantage. They have a very strong hold coming in. Great use to force Eclipse to reposition. At least because the door is already locked, so you could get some couple wall bangs in, considering he knows the race is right outside. He's done this before, but now making it a 4-4 at least. So now his picks for Mystic, depending on where they're looking, and it is the ace side. There's no social peeks in. Fortune is caught out.
Yeah, I was going to say that they did pick up Rotzi on A, so they could have gone A as there was nobody there except for Jag as they rotated in after. But they have decided to go C, and this is where Mawson is.
Yeah, he peeks in and doesn't find the shot.
30 seconds
Although it
left.
was nice, just a little bit off the headshot, unfortunately, to not make a 3v3. He has the flashes.
Last player
Now
standing.
running back. That was just
Spike
sick.
down. C.
Shot there too. Immediately stopped by the plan as well, with the spike not going down. Barely acceptable. Have all the control in the world. Grim Reaper saving the round.
You cannot plant default or anywhere that barely acceptable expect, because that is the sickest Silva lineup that I've seen today. I mean, there's a lot, right? But as he knew, he was predicting Mystic, and as I said, it's going to be punishing the patterns, and maybe Mystic has a pattern of playing there, perhaps, could be used in future rounds. We will figure that out. Not too many rounds left in this half, though, as there are only 4 remaining. No ultimates used on the side of barely acceptable, so they are all up this round. And Mystic here are still going to have a hard time pushing in because they know that those 2 ultimates are up.
So the way they're looking, we've seen just a lot of mid-aggression coming out early on for the side of Mystic. This is more often than most teams I've seen, right? Because they know that usually really acceptable, like to usually push out to possibly catch up one after another. Kasky already putting in seeds, training drones. They'll spot out one at least, so they know they might be punished. If they're already peeking there, considering he's tagged, he's barely at the side, gets 1 tag, and he will die. Sam cannot get away. And instead of being the aggressor, he gets aggressed upon, barely acceptable, starting it off hot yet again.
And that is going to be Dime as well, moving off from the aggressive cubby position that they were in. Now, once again, Rodzi is moving up, but Winky is watching them. So they got to make sure to not get picked off very early once again. And it is going to be Mawson taking that first pick, this time with the Vandal. That's why you buy the Vandal when you're holding C, because that will get another headshot.
30 seconds left.
It's looking very good so far right now for barely acceptable. As Little Dot doesn't spot them, they might look to at least push it one after another. Clip speaking, we were talking about this before here, Kara. Just going in on the open sight lines and looking to possibly not get punished, considering it's a 1v3, they have no time to plan. They know where Winky is, and he will die. Bye-bye.
Yeah, and because Winky did not catch out Rodzi from A, they were not expecting Rodzi again to just push out. But unfortunately, took the wrong gamble as they were just pinched from behind there at C long. So I was going to be putting barely acceptable in a 3-round lead, but this time, Showstopper and Lockdown are available for the side of Mystic. So I think that combination most likely could be used on A, probably going up short, I believe, as we will see what happens very shortly, but they are on that save. So if they decide to storm the site, could still happen.
Mawson as well has the nice to use the deposit respond to pressure to consider they already make it over onto A. Runner back used as the back Eclipse peeks in, finds out the 2 other players. We're not able to pick up any of them either though, but information is quite key there. The nicer Mawson, but they spot him up in the air, unfortunately. They picked down the airplane. They had a UAV up, Cora, so you can't be peeking in like that, unfortunately. Now Winky, looking at the back, he's also coming into A short. The spray is just too good. With one of the falling one after another, this looking bad for barely acceptable. 4v2s all just position pitches on into A short, and Ricky won a super tight angle, just cannot find spray transfer.
And that was basically a thrifty / partial buy coming out from the side of Mystic, able to retrieve those weapons as well, allowing their economy just to be bolstered that much more, as there are 2 rounds left and they should be able to buy for both. Can't say the same for barely acceptable though, as they will have a scuffed buy this round and maybe a scuffed buy next round as well. No operators should be coming out from either team, except for maybe Winky on the last round of the half. But it's okay, we have to get through this round first, as they do not need to use any of those ultimates that I talked about in the last round to get onto that site. And now Mawson's gonna have to come up huge here, and it is not going to happen.
Unfortunately not, considering the opted actually used Phantom instead, but immediately gets face to face with Sam right as the peak ends, so at least the trades will happen. This can get a little bit of advance from himself with a little back and forth still onto the site. They love this A site so far. Jack peeks in and trades back and forth immediately, leaving it down for a 1-for-1, considering how even it is. And Rossi wins out. The paranoia doesn't land. He was a little bit too far.
And barely acceptable
Last
here,
round
stuck
before
in
the
a
switch.
very sticky situation, but able to crawl back out of it with those members coming in from CT and able to clean off those members of Mystic. Good trades coming out from barely acceptable. When one member fell, another member of Mystic at least fell with them. But ooh, look at those 5 ultimates that are on the board now. Barely acceptable are going to have a really hard time trying to push out those members of Mystic if they all come storming in. And it looks like that side of contention is once again going to be A.
Ooh-wee. Immediately peeking its ears while to shut them down and them starting it off with the pick out to Rodzi. Will do exactly that. Run it back, use to find any information because settings haven't smoked off. Jack could try to possibly regress. They must have heard the TB here, Kura. He actually completes this, trying to go for a really big fight. Doesn't see it, but look at the lockdown to make sure nobody can enter onto the site. Mawson is there to try to possibly catch a one as he try to exit, does exactly that. And Jag is there too. Then Steve coming from behind, not making it a 4v3 at least. Showstopper used impatience to see if to catch anyone else out. Just throws it down long, but no one is there. Dime has to know. They have to cover all their flanks, and he knows. Dime with a good call at least. Possibly catch out 2 right there at the end. I'm making 2v2. Smoke and Paranoia out, drops down, and dies. Mosin just Jag left. He has to clutch it, but he can't. So the 2K.
Just all those ultimates coming out from Mystic, and as I said, the pattern punishing. They punished Rodzi, who was just pushing up aggressively in A and not holding back onto the site. And with that, that's basically a free A site because you don't have those cipher chips or the cages or the camera to get you any of that additional information. And so Mystic able to come back, making it a 7-5 half, which is not too shabby, honestly. 5 rounds on the offense, especially since they are more of a defense-sided team, as we saw in those previous maps. Not necessarily a more defense-sided comp, I would say, at first glance, but it's okay. Their playstyle does seem to suit it quite well. So now, barely acceptable are going to have to try to get these rounds on offense. And as you said before, they need to have a better post plant. They are not allowing themselves to get into good positions afterward, as Mystic have just been able to catch them off guard. But this time, they're moving very, very quickly onto C.
Does it already peek into down looking to it? I want to guess what to just have goes here. It's headshots all around. These guys actually do not miss. It's literally nothing but head. Here, Kura seems one as this just now Eclipse left with the frenzy. Should have got a ghost buddy considering how well it's working for Mystic.
Yeah, but I mean, the frenzy is pretty great, I think, on a duelist when you try to go in. Because if you just get straight up into their face and they can't see, then you just riddle their body with bullets, right?
True. Yeah, that is the ultimate end of the the ultimate end, goal of the game. But if you have a ghost and can click heads, that's what also works a little bit too here, girl.
All right, but sometimes you can't click the head all the time. All right, there's the whole body too. That's a bigger surface area.
That is true. Math is prevalent within that, but it's a good thing for me. I was never good at math in school, right? So that's why I was aiming for the head.
Yeah, all right. Well, this is why I'm here on this cast, right? I'm doing the math. I am doing the math, but it's okay. Bar Academy. Oh my God, I said it again. Barely acceptable are going to be taking that stance toward mid. Ravish has absolutely corrupted my vocabulary today, as Eclipse is just going to get taken down by the Spectre from Winky.
Still peeking back and forth, considering. Like you mentioned already, with one getting picked off, the Mystic looking primed and in position to respond to the early aggression of Barely Acceptable. Now, we've seen this before, right? Barely Acceptable have a pretty decent half, but this is definitely the closest half we've seen so far here, Kura. And considering Mystic were able to get both pistols in the first half in the previous round as well, on Ascent, they're now at a supreme advantage to be able to continue to do the same as Barely Acceptable, playing a lot more defensive, looking down mid, could go to B.
30 seconds left.
See as well, just pop that Killjoy utility on A. And there are some members of Mystic that were rotating over, but it's not going to matter, as Soso is just going to clean up on that B site. And it's only going to be Grim Reaper left.
As they peeking all the way to the back two, they're all moving in. As Sosa was there with a beautiful spray right at the beginning. Really well done by him to just catch them all off guard and missed it. Sorry. As of right now, making it a 7-7 of both sides. Right, both vessels going in their favor.
Yeah, and it's going to be important for Mystic to try to win this round on the bonus to put themselves in the lead. I believe for the first time in the, not for the first time in the game, for the second time in the game, as it was 3-2 at some point. That's where my math fails me. Counting, I guess counting is not my strong suit. In any case, barely acceptable now. Playing more of a split, trying to figure out if any members of Mystic are going to be taking aggressive angles, but it's going to be So-So sitting here at the top of this box in Garage.
Looking at the side so far, considering, although they do have a fair bit of information as to where the acceptable might be set up to put another shot cover, so he puts it down into the window, but Soso's not even there, so it doesn't necessarily matter. Nice shot that though, at least punishing for the positioning. But with them getting that one pick, so they have getting it sniffed out as to where Acceptable might be looking to sniff into what site they want. Dive be forced to reposition as they're moving on to C here, Kura, but able to force it back off. All the mollies there to punish it. Okay. Again, Rozzy at the side. Down into the window as one after another, but Acceptable just unfortunately getting punished for essentially just white streaking and going in through smokes, right? Unfortunately, no cover or backup, right? Now it is just pretty Acceptable left, that being just a clips at 3v1, and he dies.
Yeah, not going to happen. I really like there how Dime used that shrouded step twice to get back to that original position in the back of the site. Unfortunately, gets spotted out once again with that Silva utility, so didn't help them too much there, but barely Acceptable. We're still not able to deal with that, though, as he was able to get those 2 picks off and provide that member advantage to Mystic. And now, going into round number 16, there is one aggressive ult coming from both sides. We have the run it back from Eclipse and the showstopper coming out from So-So. So we will see which one reigns superior, as it should be that early run it back popped if they choose to use it, as they are going to be on that save. A little more questionable, but we have seen it used before, so I wouldn't count it out just yet.
Very true. You're considering, more often than not, these running backs that use to just get information and find position, but considering it's just sheriffs in hand for them, fairly Acceptable, looking to be as aggressive as possible to just get as many guns out of Mystic's hand, right? Mystic is so far the hand to be able to take this half. So looking for a couple of points on the board. There's a lot of pressure coming out of the ace short. They finally punish Sosos with blind fire through the smoke, considering they know that at least one will be coming through there. Which they can get it spotted too. Fairly Acceptable, have a lot of control on the map. They'll be able to read where Mystic wants to come from. The question is, how do they take this back? The smokes will be good, at least to put we smoke up the entire end of the site in heaven. Getting peeked out on one after another. Mystic just keep finding exactly where Bar Academy is. 1 health on the most, and it does not matter. He dies too. There's just one left on site, that being Cypher, and Rozzy goes bye-bye.
And that is still a pretty good round for barely Acceptable, not Bar Academy. Alright, but they were able to take out 3 members of Mystic there, trying to make it just that much more expensive. But this is the operator now coming out from Winky, and we know how strong it was on Ascent. So, barely Acceptable, we're gonna need you to smoke this out or flash them or do something about it and not peek straight into it, as we've seen that does not bode too well for the chance of success if the operator is able to pick off a member initially. So this operator right now is going to be playing A long, and Rozzy got to be a little bit careful. But with that cage popped, they will actually just go back.
You mentioned, run it back to really use, and now so speaking the back finds out Mosin, but at least 2 takers already back and forth. These ultimates coming up huge here for Mystic as they punish the entire positioning of barely Acceptable. Spikes in their hand in the 2v5. This looks so bad here to be forced to go on the same in the round after this, and Grim Reaper just not ready. A spike down mid on grass, Kura.
Yeah, and it is only going to be Jag left alone. And I called out incorrectly that it was Cask because Winky was on Sova last game. And then when I saw Sova, I was like, it has to be Winky. But that operator was actually holding C long. And, you know, it wasn't really needed to be used, but now it is going to be very annoying or barely acceptable if they do not do the things that we said before.
Yeah,
Now,
just listen to us, please. We're trying.
hey, but you're technically like not supposed to be like listening to us cast, right? You're technically supposed to be like just playing. So I think it's like a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, right? We're telling you what you need to do, but like, so like listen to us, but like don't be listening.
Yeah,
it's a weird kind of situation.
Exactly. Do what we say, but also don't do what we say.
Yeah,
We're fine. But look at this full C push coming in, a 4-man 2 with Cypher naturally looking all the way to the back to possibly catch us. Also coming in through garage. We know how far back Soso holds, and Winky now with the op. We've seen this with this in his hand before. Dark comes out, the spot in 2, but he gets flashed and he can't actually get anybody at all here, Kura. As we are to the side, Sam is there for the trade. And the beacon at the back, and moving through garage, so one after another. But it's not a 2v2, make that a 1v1 suddenly. Razi has the other, then Nilota comes up big, he's coming through long. This is the back spike, doesn't go down, just around the Rosie, and Cask has a pocket full of posies.
Ooh, that was so close for the side of barely acceptable. Almost could have won that out there. They did what we said, right? They flashed the operator to put the smokes down. And Winky there was just not ready for them to come onto that site. But in the end, it was still Mystic taking that round. And they have won 7 in a row. And they are on a roll. And they're not losing too many members except for that last round. So the economy is going to probably look great until the end of this game. But it's going to be very acceptable. Having that Sheriff on Mawson will actually pop the Blade Storm immediately. But they really do need to try to find any initial picks on Mystic right now. But it's the operator ringing true, this time on A.
Speaking of initial picks, the Winky couldn't get the op shot last time, but he makes up for it this time at least. Now, but acceptable, definitely not out of it yet. As they rotate all the way over onto A, we do see the Killjoy anchoring down the site, has all the util there along the turret down right there by sewer. Should be able to spot out if anything comes out at all, but look at Jag, peeks and does spot out the rotation, so this should signal to Mystic to possibly rotate over, but acceptable. Not committed to it.
Yeah, they still have 50 seconds left, so they are choosing just to back off of A right now. But Mystic have still placed 2 members at C and 1 in garage, so this is not going to be the free site that I think barely acceptable think it is.
Probably not yet considering they're already moved in to gather a little bit of information as to where they possibly could be. Nice paranoia, all they're going down long as Sam peeks in. It's just one drop after another. The Phantom spray is so clean from Sam. He gets a 3K, and it's just now Jag left. He already used the TP right at the beginning of the round. So he's just stuck down long here. The spike is left on site. He has 14 seconds. I would want him to save the AR, but Winky makes that impossible.
Yep, and it's once again going to be that operator cleaning up for the side of Mystic. And now they are on the series point, and they have 5 points to make this happen. And it's going to be that scuffed by coming out from barely acceptable again. So they actually have the opportunity to just clean it up, especially since they have the lockdown and they have to run it back. I think they can afford to be a little more aggressive on the defense and try to catch out any members, but it doesn't look like Sam is actually going to do that. They are just going to play back in C right now. But there is nothing going down long, actually. I think shots did come out, but nothing connected.
Yet again, just looking down at the B, looking to get some possible garage control, but Soso has been an absolute martyr for control for the side of Mystic, not allowing them any sort of free reign going in between B and C here, correct? But as we're looking so far, yet again, B's are looking to be favorable for Mystic. And I remember we were saying in the beginning that no teams actually go B. Boy, we were proving wrong, but so we spotted out as he peeks in. Nice reposition for the C4, actually. Is he able to get out? That's Harkness free already gone. That was the one ultimate they had
Mhm.
Pull the side of Mystic too, and Winky getting opening up. So speaking
Mm.
into the smoke and shutting it down, making only 3 people left on the side of barely acceptable. They're all making it through mid. Oh
Remaining.
my.
Oh.
The
Spike down
pool
mid.
power clean them up and Cask with the
Defenders
final
win.
kill. Mystic bring it back and get the reverse sweep.
Whew, that was crazy right there. And I
Woo!
guess now we know why Mystic has picked the attack every single time because the defense is just so much better.
Absolutely OP. Both teams are good on the defense, but when we got by the time we got to the third round here, Kurt, you saw that these attacking rounds were getting closer and closer for the side of Team Mystic. Considering it was usually 8-4 or maybe like a 7-5 there, but we're all feeling there would at least be a 4 round lead. But coming into this, they handily had both beginning pistols. The already gives you 4 rounds to start off and a perfect defensive half going into the second one, right? For Team Mystic. That was really well done by them.
I think it is just that operator coming out from Winky and just Winky in general. MVP for me. Honestly,
Mhm.
playing this over on the previous map with the Odin with the op. This time it's going to be the Killjoy with the op. Just providing a site lockdown for the side of Mystic.
And honestly, I gotta say, what a way to start off week one, right? We clicked all 3 games. We got a reverse sweep. We got some nice shots, some big 4Ks. No ace though. I'm sad about
Hmm.
that, but I'm sure we'll get some as we go throughout the entire week season, folks. We've only just started. I'm sure you'll see more of us as we go throughout. Now, with that all being said, I want to thank our producers, of course, Dom and Nee, for making us look good. Kurt, I want to thank you for being beside me all night, putting up with my shenanigans. I want to thank you all for watching. Now, that all being said, I have been ravishing, the most ravishing man on the internet. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.